Aita for financially screwing over my sister after finding out she's close with my ex and his wife. Usually, I wouldn't take personal advice from strangers online, but everyone in my life seems to think I'm a petty, scorned, bitter woman, which I probably am, and I need objective advice. My ex-husband, currently 43M, and I, 43F, were college sweethearts. For me, life felt perfect. I trusted him completely. That's why it was so shocking when I found out he was in love with his much younger colleague. She was around 24 at the time. I won't get into the details of how I found out, but the affair was well known at his workplace. When I confronted him, all he said was, "I'm sorry." I tried really hard not to fall for her. He didn't seem sorry at all. It felt like he wanted me to leave him. So I did. That was 6 years ago. Our son was 4 then, and it was the worst time of my life. I honestly don't know how I got through it. And because I was desperate, I wanted him to fight for me, to fight for our family. But he didn't. He was quick to sign the divorce papers and didn't even fight for custody. It was as if he had started a new life and completely erased the old one. It took years of therapy to feel normal again, to stop checking that woman's social media and comparing myself to her. The fact that she's very pretty and charming didn't help. His family loved her. And as disgusting as it sounds, one of our common friends even said it out loud, "I don't support cheating, but I mean, look at her," when I told her about the cheating. I guess that's what everyone was thinking, this one was just stupid enough to voice it out. So I had to cut off that group of friends too. They got married 3 years ago and now have a daughter, a picture-perfect little family. The current arrangement is that our son stays with my ex on weekends and holidays, which works fine for the most part. Last week, I found out my sister, 28F, has been in touch with my ex all these years. That would have been forgivable, since they were close when we were married and she saw him as a brother. But she's actually best friends with his new wife. And she kept it from me for 6 years. I only found out because she left her phone at my house, and I saw several texts from the wife. When I asked her about it, she just brushed it off and said it wasn't a big deal. I told her she can do what she wants, but I will be cutting her off completely. I was helping her pay her college loans, lol. And going no contact. She called me unreasonable and said I'm being petty and unable to move on from something that happened a long time ago. She also said the wife is a lovely person and a good friend. She said she will be fucked, financially speaking. I told her to go fuck herself. Somehow, my parents agree with her. Comments. She clearly chose a side during the divorce but pretended to be on mine for the money. T's strange, and I honestly don't know what level of pretty privilege this is, but no one seems to care what they did. They see 2 attractive people and act like that justifies everything. The cheating doesn't matter because they're easy to look at. If nothing else, it made it a lot easier for me to cut a lot of people out of my life. 6 years, countless interactions, and not a word. But honestly, this woman worships my ex. From what I've heard, she pursued him despite knowing he was married. And he didn't resist. He's a despicable human being, and so is she. I thought I was done with my share of dealing with betrayals, but guess not, lol. My ex and my sister were pretty close all those years we were married. I mean, she's known him since she was a kid. So they think it's not fair for me to want her to cut him off completely. I would have been fine with that, but again, she hid this for 6 years. And being close friends with his wife is just pushing it too far. I wish it was rage bait. But no, my husband really did cheat with his subordinate at work who was half his age. I never said their relationship was normal. I used people's reactions to it as a metric to weed out the ones who saw nothing wrong with it. That's the entire point. Whatever our issues are, that's still his dad who he adores. I am capable of setting aside my feelings for the sake of my child. If the child knows about the affair or if the father and his new partner try to talk shit about OOP to them, they haven't. He enjoys his time with them, and looks forward to it. I haven't thought that long into the future. He's 10 now. Maybe when he's older I'll tell him the truth. I don't know tbh. Right now he's happy with whatever arrangement we have. Update. So I spoke to my sister again. She apologized for reacting that way the last time. Also for keeping it from me all these years. She said she didn't tell me because she knew I would ask her to choose, and she didn't want to be in that position. She said she never wanted to hurt me, but at the same time, she couldn't bring herself to walk away from the people who had been there for her. She said it never felt fair to cut him off completely. Growing up, our parents were barely around. They were always busy with work. And for a long time, it was just me and my ex who were actually present in her life. He was like family to her. Then she brought up the accident she was in around 5 years ago. I knew about it, of course. She had multiple fractures, hematomas, and internal bruising. She was in the hospital for a while and bedridden for weeks. I always assumed our parents were taking care of her. I never asked, and I never really checked in. I was too busy trying to manage a recent divorce, a small child, a career, and whatever was left of my mental health. She said it was my ex's wife who stepped up. She took her to every appointment, picked up prescriptions, brought food, helped her move around, stayed with her when she couldn't be alone. And at one point she said, "I know it hurts you, but she was there. He was there. You weren't. You didn't even come to the hospital. I thought I was gonna die, and you didn't even show up." She cried while telling me all this. She said she still wants a relationship with me, but she's not going to cut them off. She also said she's fine with me not helping her with the loans anymore. She's planning to get a part-time job and figure it out herself. She told my ex and the wife about our conversation. Apparently they offered to help her financially, but she turned it down too. I just listened. Then I told her she's free to do whatever she wants. And so am I. And to never call me again. So that's where we are. Comments by OOP. I had a 5-year-old, a full-time job, and a brain that was barely holding it together. I texted her, but no, I didn't go to the hospital. I assumed our parents were taking care of her. I was wrong. I'm not defending it. She said they weren't friends before the accident. She was cordial to her. They only became close after the accident. Stories number 2. Aita for locking myself in my office when we have company. I 36F took in my mother during the pandemic after some medical issues. I never made her move out after. It works for us. She has her own bedroom and bathroom, we share other spaces and I work from home most of the time so I can look after her. My stepdad died about a decade ago and she was lonely. It made sense for us. As mentioned, I work from home most of the time and a lot of times I'm in some kind of Teams meeting or call, yes, even those that could be emails, but that's not important. So I don't really have time for chit-chat during office hours. My mom's sister aka my aunt tends to drop by unannounced to visit with my mom. Which I don't really mind, but she had a tendency to step into my office without knocking while I'm working and start talking to me about her neighbor's sister's kid who did blah blah blah. I've more than once explained to her that I'm working or I'm on a call and I can't really chat right now. But she just keeps talking like nothing happened. Today she actually announced to my mom she was coming over. I reminded my mom to tell her I'm working and on calls and can't be disturbed, and my mom agreed she would tell her not to bother me. But just to be safe I locked my office door so she couldn't walk in. Despite my mom telling her, she came upstairs and tried to open the door. When it didn't open she started knocking and calling out, "Hello, it's me, open up." I didn't respond at first as I was on a call with a client, but she kept banging on the door so loudly I ended up having to put the client on hold. I told her without opening the door I was on a call and could not talk right now, and my aunt left in a huff. Now she's bombarding my mom with texts about how rude I was for locking myself in my office knowing I was having company. So AIT, update, go to dinner for a few hours, return to Reddit only to find out this has exploded. First of all, thank you all for your confirmation that this isn't on me. I did not think I was the asshole, but there's always that hint of doubt where you're like, maybe I should have poked my head out and said hello real quick, but the truth was it was a busy day today and I just hadn't had the time. Now for the update. After I finished my workday, I took my mom out for dinner and we discussed the matter. She hadn't responded to any of her sisters, my aunts, texts because she is fully on my side. I know people are asking why my mom didn't stop her. My mom isn't very mobile anymore and my aunt simply got up from her seat and took off upstairs despite my mom's warning. We discussed it over dinner and we agreed that my aunt simply is no longer welcome during office hours, since it's the only way to stop this behavior. Either she can pick up my mom to go to a coffee shop and talk, come after office hours, or come over on the one day I work in office. My aunt seems pretty pissy about it, calling their brother, my uncle, to complain also, but he texted me earlier saying he told her how wrong she was and apparently her husband had also told her she was wrong, so now she's currently stomping her feet at home because everybody is saying she's wrong. Delightful woman she is. Remind me to one day post the story about her Disneyland trip. Anyways, TLDR, mom and I decided she's no longer welcome at my house during office hours. Update, this is the Cliff Notes version of the Disneyland story. She has twin boys, and for their birthday she booked a trip to take them and one of their friends out to Disneyland. The friend ended up canceling last minute and told me if I paid the friend's share I could go. Reasonable enough, I figured why not. I was 16 at the time. This story is like 20 years old. I'm European, so this is Disneyland Paris I'm talking about, and I'm not from France, so this is an international trip. This becomes important later. My cousins are maybe 10ish at this point. So anyways, we're in the parks and she has been a menace all trip already, but I'm dealing with it. It's the last day, about 5 hours before we have to take our train back home, international traveling train with customs etc. Like a plane would be, only less boarding time. One of my cousins wants to go on the rock and roll roller coaster, the other one doesn't. The line is like 5 minutes or less, so my aunt tells me to go with him and she'll wait at the exit with our bags. So I leave my bag containing my phone, my ID, my money, everything in her care. 10 minutes later me and my cousin get out of the ride, and she is gone. So I start looking around, cannot find her. After half an hour of waiting, maybe they went to the bathroom or something, still nothing. We go check the bathrooms, neighboring rides, the works, no aunt. I have no phone on me to call her, and with us having to leave for the train in 4 hours I get nervous. I'm a 16-year-old with a 10-year-old at my hand and no money, no ID, no phone, nothing. So I decide to go to the lost kids department and explain my situation. They end up calling her through the park's intercom. Another hour goes by, no aunt. I remember my dad's phone number back home, so I use Disney's landline to call him. He tries calling her cell phone, my cell phone, no response whatsoever. At this point I have like an hour or less before the train leaves and I'm in hysterical because I can't board this train without money or ID, let alone with another minor. My cousin at this point, seeing my panic, is crying his eyes out, so I'm also dealing with a scared child. I'm barely an adult myself. My dad eventually tells me it makes no sense for him to drive out to Paris right now. To go back to our hotel he'll pay for another night and he'll come pick us up in the morning. So I take my cousin back to the hotel, explain the situation, and the receptionist hears me say my name and says, "Oh sweetheart, I have a note for you. It's a note from my aunt. Gone to dinner, see you on the train." At this point I have half an hour to run to the station, hoping we'll still get through customs where she's supposed to be waiting. I make it with 15 minutes to spare. I'm out of breath, and fuming. We end up making it through customs, God only knows how, and manage to get on the train literally as the doors close on us. I call my dad, explain the update, and he is also fuming at this point. To which my aunt turns to me and goes, "I don't know why you're so mad. I left a note at the hotel and I brought you something to eat," and hands me a freaking dinner roll. I took my stuff, went to the dining car with my cousin, who she also almost abandoned, and gave him the biggest slice of chocolate cake my budget could buy, and never came back to our seats to talk to her XD. Stories number 3. My boyfriend, M25, and I, F23, had an argument that is giving me red flags. Is it enough to end our years-long relationship? My boyfriend and I have been together for over 5 years and have lived together for 1.5 years now. For context, I was getting ready to go to a Halloween potluck with some of my girlfriends and their respective boyfriends. When I was getting ready, my BF began discussing the idea of a curfew with me, explaining that no woman should be out late because nothing good happens late into the night, and that I shouldn't be out till 3 a.m. I explained that I don't want to be out that long, but the idea of him putting a curfew on me made me uncomfortable. He told me that unless he is physically there with me, I, a female, shouldn't be out of the house late and at a party. I told him there is no need for him to be this controlling with me and that I was confused, since he had never done anything like this before. I go to social events pretty regularly, but rarely go to parties like this, maybe once every 3 months. He was also invited twice to come to this party with me and declined. I asked my BF why he's saying all this, and he said that, "I have standards. These are my standards. If you don't like them, you don't have to live with me anymore. I'm not budging on this," and then explained that, "Now I expect you home at 1 a.m. because you're pissing me off, but I should be saying 11 p.m. This freaked me out. I packed a bag, left to my parents' house, and haven't been back since. I don't know what to do from here. I want to emphasize he's never done anything like this before, which really threw me off, and hence why I'm asking for advice on an internet forum. I left the house crying and upset, and my boyfriend hasn't reached out in over 72 hours to check in or initiate a chat. Ideally, I would like a conversation to be started by him, but I'm convinced my boyfriend has no shame for his actions and believes I am the one in the wrong. Please let me know what you, an unbiased random internet stranger, thinks about this situation. I love the relationship my BF and I have built together, but this seems like a huge red flag to me. TLDR, my boyfriend told me I need a curfew before going to a party without him. When I told him this made me uncomfortable, he tried to punish me by making the curfew more strict. I left the house upset and we haven't spoken in 72 hours. Not sure what to do from here. Consensus. Everybody tells her to run like her tampon string is on fire. Update. This update is not easy for me to write, but I am moving out of state next week, and want to put this out to finally lay this chapter of my life to rest. The argument from the post occurred on Saturday late afternoon. I posted to Reddit a few days later after I hadn't heard from M25. By Wednesday, I placed an order for a small U-Haul truck to move out the following Saturday, the soonest time my family could help, but I still hadn't heard from him. My family thought it best not to tell M25 that I was coming to pick up my belongings until the day of, because we were afraid he would destroy my things. M25 is an extreme minimalist, so all the furniture, decor, tools, etc., came 100% out of my pocket. At that point, I had thousands of dollars worth of belongings in there, and even more invaluable mementos. Anyways, Saturday comes around. Still hadn't heard anything on his end. I texted M25 that morning, telling him my parents were coming to remove my belongings and to please be out of the house while they did so. He texted me back, no stop telling me what to do. At this point, he knows they're coming and exactly when. For my safety, I stayed home. When my parents get there, my mother knocks on the door. No answer. Doorbell. No answer. I texted her to go into the garage and see if M25's vehicle is there. The garage opens, and he had thrown my belongings into the garage. Things were scattered about the garage floor. Whatever. They noted that his vehicle was there, though, so he must be inside. My family starts grabbing stuff from the floor and putting it into the truck. M25 comes out. My mother said he looked psychotic, almost. He doesn't do drugs and wasn't drinking for health reasons. But he looked off. When he came out, he made it very clear to my mother that he was holding a gun in his sweatpants pocket. He told them to get off his property. My mother asked him if he was alright. Remember, M25 and I had been together for a long time at this point. My family knows him well. This was all such strange behavior from him, and my mother was genuinely concerned. In response, he tells my mom, "I'm fine." Why wouldn't I be? My mom asked if she could go inside and get the rest of my belongings. M25 says no. My mother reminds him that I have been without my essentials for a week now, medication, glasses, contacts, work badge, underpants, and asks to step inside for 5 minutes to retrieve those things. He agrees. My mother walks into the house and sees an AR-57 set up in the kitchen, ready to go. She immediately turned around, told everyone outside loading the truck to get in the car, and went home. I spent the next few hours trying to arrange a police escort for the rest of my belongings. In hindsight, we should have done it in the first place. As I was working with that, my mom called the homeowners, aka M25's parents, who live 2 to 3 hours away. We tell them everything up to this point, and they're distraught. They say they're on their way. We received a call from the parents later that evening stating that M25 is out of the house and being monitored back at their home. We moved everything out afterwards. I get a text from M25 that Sunday, where he essentially says that he didn't know I was breaking up with him. That he was waiting for me to reach out to him while he was reflecting on everything that happened, blah blah. We went back and forth a bit, where I was telling him that he threatened my family and that I couldn't forgive him. He said he wanted to talk about everything, and I told him I wasn't ready for that. I followed it up with a, "You should work on yourself, and if I want to talk, I'll reach out," type of text. He responded with a bunch of okays and then, "Just don't fuck your ex, hate that guy. Heard really bad things about him." He's referring to himself here, since he's the only BF I've had. It was super strange and off-putting to receive a joking text like that when a few hours earlier he threatened my family with guns. I ignored him. He also sent an interesting apology to my mother. To me, it's a liability thing that his lawyer mother asked him to send. Highlights included, "I know you felt threatened by what you saw. And, there is no excuse for having guns out while people are present at my house. Seeing a gun, concealed or otherwise, in that sort of situation is enough to shock someone, especially those unfamiliar with these weapons, and, my parents agree and have asked me to give, my guns, up until I am more responsible and careful." He texted me again the next day, saying, "I know I've acted nonchalant about things, and it's not a good habit. I can't continue to live in limbo. I hope you will come over and talk to me in person. False hope is not doing me any good. I need to move on with my life." Where I responded, "I do not want to give you false hope, but I'm not in a place of forgiveness. I think it's time that we continue to move on with our separate lives." This is when he responds with, "Listen, come talk to me. I feel awful that I used your own love for me as a lever against you. I hate the person who did that to you, and every day I try to bury that part of me." Lots to digest there. We exchanged a few more texts, and I, naively, agreed to have a conversation in person. I would not have it at the house. It would be during the day. And it would be in public. I now understand that I should never have entertained this idea in the first place. I was emotional and confused at that time. I had been with M25 for years at this point, and wanted clarity on what drove him to do this. I told him my availability to talk on a Thursday, and he said he wasn't sure if he was available but would let me know. I didn't hear back from him until Thursday at 8:15 p.m., when he asked, "You still coming or no?" A location hadn't been discussed. It was dark out. I suggested we meet the following morning. That's when he sends, "8:30 is late for you now," followed by, "I said your curfew was 1 a.m., so you're good, and, just get your ass over here and talk, I am not going this 9 a.m. bullshit. Or I will put a scorpion in your bed." I responded and he texts back, I'm sorry, you're what?" At this point, I was in a new safe place in location A. My mother was in location B, and my father was in location C. I had to call everyone and let them know M25 was going to show up at one of their locations, since he knows where they both live. He showed up at location C, where my father was. My father told me that he was scared for his safety and home. Luckily, nothing happened. M25 waited outside for a bit after texting me, "Here," and left. This whole night rattled me. I stayed up all night, scared he was going to show up at my mom's place next, or mine. I ignored his texts. He started to call. Left an eerily calm, cool, and collected voicemail wondering when we were going to chat. Saying that if I wanted to have that conversation, I, F23, am welcome to the house whenever. I texted him back, threatening a restraining order if he made contact again. A month later, he texted, "Hey, obviously what happened happened. I'm sorry I made you feel unsafe. That's not who I am as a person or who I would want to be. I wish you the best in whatever you do." And that is the last I've heard from him. All of this could have played out way worse. I'm relieved for the safety of my family and my own. I'm fortunate enough to have gotten out when I did. And yes, I understand things could have been done differently on my end. I learned a lot about myself through this experience. I chose to text M25 in the no confrontational way I did for my safety. We live in a small community. I genuinely believe this man is dangerous and could harm my family, my dog, my friends, etc., if I angered him. We're all within a mile or two of each other, and he knows where to find all of them, and me, if he wanted to. I condensed some of the details for the sake of brevity in this post. I have screenshots of all the texts I quoted above. I'm happy to answer questions in the comments. TLDR, my ex-boyfriend, M25, ignored me for an entire week after a concerning argument where I sought advice on what to do, described in the original post. When I went to move out, he threatened my family with weapons. Fake apologies, nonchalant texts, and jokes followed this. When I didn't want to talk, he showed up at my father's house, where he thought he could find me. So, yes, the argument was enough to end a years-long relationship. Stories number 4. Aita 4, running away, because my parents were late to my graduation over a labubu. Okay, I know this sounds so ridiculous and insane. I, 18F, am adopted and was adopted as a baby. My parents thought they couldn't have kids, even tried IVF, so when my sister Princess, 10F, was born, it was a miracle. Everything changed. Princess was spoiled and clearly the favorite. She never got in trouble, was always right, got whatever she wanted and acted however she wanted. My parents didn't treat me badly though, but if I got one toy, Princess got 5. It sucked, I was jealous, and I got in trouble for it. Princess got worse around age 6 when she realized how much she could get away with. She broke my things, hurt others, stole, and hated when anyone else had attention. I became a target. Luckily, I had friends, school, and relatives for support though, so it wasn't the worst. I did great in school and joined clubs and sports just to stay out of the house. During summer I worked or interned just to avoid her. Now I have a car and a boyfriend, since sophomore year. I stay with him a lot and his family loves me, so I'm barely home, maybe 24 hours at most weekly. My parents didn't care and this was my normal, so I stopped caring too. Anyway, graduation was last month, one of the few things I asked my parents to come to. I was excited, they seemed excited, and some relatives came too. But Princess had to ruin it. See, her current obsession are these doll plush keychains called labubas. She collects them, and that specific day, she found this super rare one for sale in our city. Now instead of contacting the seller and buying it the next day, my parents went to go get it, and not only that, spent $350. My grad gift was $150, then they showed up so late, our caps were already being tossed. I was hurt. After graduation, I ignored them and went home with my boyfriend. I've basically moved in with him at this point, since any time I went back home, it was to get my things to go back. My parents called, texted, apologized, even came over and begged me to forgive them. Worst part of it all, they think it's the money and sent me another $100. I refuse to talk to them. Now it's serious as they're threatening to report me as missing or runaway and contact my future college if I don't go back home. I feel justified in my actions and don't think it's that serious but AITA. Stories number 5. AITA if I report the couple's therapist that married my ex-boyfriend a year after our sessions with her. In 2017, I, F25, saw a couple's therapist with my then boyfriend, M36. After 3 sessions with her, I refused to return due to her blatant flirtatious behavior and extremely judgmental attitude toward me, which my ex-boyfriend called me delusional for pointing out. She had told me that I seemed too immature, not ready for therapy or a serious relationship. The whole thing was focused on my ex-boyfriend and his complaints about me. She never asked about my feelings or perspective in the relationship. We broke up about 2 months after the sessions, but I stayed living with my ex-boyfriend until November. Once after I moved out, I had to return to our old apartment to get mail. This was in December, and that was the first time I saw the therapist with my ex. They happened to be getting ready to go out on his motorcycle and were both wearing full-face motorcycle helmets, but I knew from her body type and hair that it was her, along with my instincts, which suspected something was going on the whole time. But nevertheless, I moved on with my life. I just found out yesterday my ex got married due to a friend telling me about a photo he posted on Facebook. The photo was of him and my ex-therapist, celebrating their 1-year wedding anniversary. I found her Facebook with the name change, and sure enough, they got married September of 2018, or earlier. That's just when she posted the wedding photos. This was less than a year after the breakup with me ex, and barely over a year after our sessions with her ended. I am considering filing a complaint with the American Counseling Association. My friends and mental health counselors I know say I have enough evidence. I am not upset that my ex moved on, so have I. I thank the universe every day that I am no longer with that narcissist. However, I feel deeply disturbed to find out he married our therapist, especially remembering all the harmful stuff she said to me in the sessions, which to be honest really messed with my head. I fear coming off as a bitter ex-AITA. Edit, TLDR my ex-boyfriend married our couple's therapist a year after our sessions with her. I am not sure if it is too petty or bitter to report it to the ACA or if anything will even come of it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Hi, I'm a therapist. Please report her. Her behavior is ridiculously unethical and who knows what else has she done or if she even should be allowed to practice. NTA times a million. Edit, I gotta say, I'm loving this veritable Greek chorus of therapists showing up to chant report her report her. OP if you see this, please don't feel like you're obligated to report her, you do what you need to do to find peace and closure, alright? Commenter 2. The normal rule is no dating patients within 12 months of the last encounter, correct? Not sure if that's illegal or just an in-house rule. Commenter 3. Even if the marriage relationship was a year after, I bet OP's fella started banging this therapist after the first few meetings. Very unprofessional. If I were OP, I wouldn't hesitate to report them. Are there any professional bodies that can prevent her practicing though? I don't know if they can be struck off like a surgeon or doctor who is guilty of malpractice. Commenter 4. If an ethics complaint is filed, she can potentially lose her license. Edit, I was answering the question, are there any professional bodies that can do anything? My answer is yes, but a complaint needs to be filed. She can lose her license, but there are other penalties that can be imposed by the board. Which is why I said potentially. Commenter 5. Curious whose idea was it to go for therapy and who picked out the therapist? Reply, him and him. Commenter 1. Oh, any chance this was happening prior? Reply, I have no idea, but one of my friends suggested that. Commenter 2. Might be worth looking into especially if you paid for the sessions. Reply, he paid, did the scheduling, everything. I never even signed a consent form. I just went with him. Commenter 3. There are red flags flying up all over the place regarding this therapist's practice. You didn't even sign a form and she was seeing you as a client. That's not normal. At all. Reply, you're right, I realize that now. At the time I suspected things were weird, but I was more focused on just trying to get on with my life, you know. For all those people saying well why did you wait until now that they are married? OOP made both updates the following day. Edit update, wow, thank you everyone for your responses. I realize that as the ex, it is pretty much impossible for it not to seem like I'm jealous petty bitter, whatever you want to say. However, it is also impossible to have sat in those sessions and then see your therapist and ex get married and have zero feelings about, regardless of having moved on. Please, give me a break. I'm human. Anyway, I have made my decision. I am not going to participate in this post anymore, but I sincerely thank those of you that made meaningful contributions. Edit again update. So, one of my friends has basically taken it upon herself to investigate this therapist. I swear she should be in the FBI, LOL. She found out that this is the third last name that this woman has practiced psychotherapy with. Under the first last name in 2014, she was charged with a DUI property damage. She also comes up on health grades with 5 one-star reviews and an overall 3-star rating. Essentially what this new information does for me is confirm that she has been a shitty human being with shitty morals for quite some time. There's no way this is the first time she has caused undue harm to a client. Therefore, I can say with certainty that I am reporting. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. Ordinarily, I'd suggest this is pretty petty, happens in relationships that go south, blah blah blah. However, in this instance, there's a very good chance that someone that you went to for counseling took advantage of your vulnerabilities and used them to manipulate you for her own gain. So I'd say go for it and report that shit high and wide. That said, you know what kind of guy your ex is, and now SHE's stuck with him, so there's at least some justice in that. Reply. Thank you. Yes, like I said, if he married anyone else I literally would not care. Very happy to not be with him. My concern is her professional conduct. At the time, it was very rough for me to watch them flirt in those sessions and team up against me. Now, I see that they are perfect for each other, but she should not be a therapist. Commenter 2. It's very rare to be presented with the opportunity to screw over your ex while doing the morally right thing. You have been given that opportunity, don't squander it. Commenter 3. What does he have that is so special? I mean for her to even be interested then to risk her career. Reply. That is a great question. All I know is that he pursued me with passion when I was 22, offering all the safety and security I craved at the time. He was going through a divorce and I naively believed all the shit he fed to me. He made me feel like I was an angel sent from the heavens to rescue him. But then I couldn't keep up with his unrealistic standards as I faced struggles that many early 20-something-year-olds deal with. His holier-than-thou attitude chipped away at my self-esteem. On more than one occasion he told me that no man will ever love me again or want to put up with me. Then when we went to therapy this woman confirmed that I was indeed a POS. I never felt so low. He's a master psychological manipulator. Final comment from Oop. Definitely a huge thank you to all the therapists showing up to support me. And also thank you for adding the last bit. I just updated the post. With the new information I have about her character, I am definitely reporting. This woman should not be a therapist. I hope that she really did find true love for my ex and that it will be worth it for her. Really, I do. But she should not be trusted by another vulnerable person ever again. Stories number 6. Aita for refusing to forgive my brother for sleeping with my, now ex-girlfriend after my accident and for refusing him closure. I, 33M, was in an accident when I was 22 years old. It was near fatal and I suffered a TBI as a result. I had been dating Jessie, 33F, for 5.5 years at that point and she was at the hospital with my family including my older brother Cameron, 35M. Soon after the accident Jessie found out she was pregnant and terminated with Cameron's help and a while after they started having an affair. My sister caught them and she forced them to tell me when I recovered enough. Jessie confessed eventually but she acted like we were going to work through it. I made it clear it would never happen and I told her I never wanted to see her again and I wouldn't be going back to our place ever again. Cameron tried to shame me for that but I kicked him out and refused to see him. Our sister let him know he was dead to me and I'd never forgive him for it. For a while he let me work on recovery but he tried to make amends or whatever. But I rejected it and then I found out him and Jessie were together and expecting a baby. The whole thing made recovery so much worse and my sister was honestly the best support and only person I fully trusted through it all. My parents wanted me to work things out with Cameron and Jessie. They wanted us to be a family and I just couldn't deal with them trying to force me into that after the way I'd been treated. My sister had to be my advocate at times when I couldn't do it myself. I'm back to normal now but had a health scare last year in the run-up to my wedding. It was stress-related. Cameron found out the health scare in April and he asked our sister for my contact details. She refused to give them so he started showing up at her house until he caught me and my wife there. He was demanding answers about why nobody let him know sooner about the health scare and why I wouldn't let her share my details. He said we needed to put this to bed once and for all and get closure. I told him I needed no closure and because he was digging in his heels I decided to tell him to fuck off one more time for good measure. He told me him and Jessie both need my forgiveness and they need me in their lives because their kids ask questions and it sucks not having answers. I told him I'll never forgive them, never let them back into my life and fuck him for putting his kids' questions on anyone but him and Jessie, and I told him I'll never give him the comfort of closure. I said he should try being in my position 11 years ago and then have the people who stomped all over you trying to demand forgiveness and closure. I told him to get over himself. My sister had to call the police to make him leave. He would not go. She heard from him afterward and he was ranting at her that I was willing to die spiting them and it's wrong and if I'm happy I should move on and forgive, etc. She blocked him and told our parents she is completely done with Cameron too. They're so upset over what happened and they asked me if there was nothing that could be done to make me forgive. That they hated keeping my health scare from Cameron and would hate for him to miss out on saying goodbye if the worst happened to me. I told them he should have thought about that before everything. They begged me to be more loving. I admit it pisses me off that they want to brush this all away and for us to play pretend. But AITA because I won't actually work on forgiving and allowing them closure. Stories number 7. Aita for not allowing my future sister-in-law use our neighborhood pool. So some background. My girlfriend, I'm proposing next month, and I currently an apartment in a very nice neighborhood. We are fortunate enough to also have access to the clubhouse pool which we frequently go to cool off after we've been working all day. A bit on my girlfriend's sister. She is a little wild and is known for excessive public drinking and causing scenes wherever she goes. Anyway, to the story. Last Monday my girlfriend got home from work and said that her sister wanted to go to the pool while she was at work. Her sister doesn't really work. Only 1 to 2 days a week and still lives at home. Their conversation looked like this. GF, how are you going to get into the pool without a car to get there and without our keycard? GF sister, I will just Uber and I can look around our parents' house for that spare key you gave them. GF, I think they lost it but you can try. Now it was a short conversation but a few things. 1. Her sister is a known klepto who steals and pawns stuff in order to go to bars. It's happened multiple times at her parents' house where she has stolen things to make money. 2. She does not have a car because she has crashed 5 and cannot have a license for another few years. 3. She has only been in our apartment when either my GF is there or we both are for reason number 1 and has invited random people over while we were there without us knowing. For the reasons above I expressed to my GF that I don't think we should allow her into our apartment alone, without one of us present. As well as we could get in trouble with the HOA or complex if she were to get into it with anyone or anything which could cause issues for us down the road. Along with this I also said we need to have a conversation with her parents to let them know to either find the key and give it back to us. Or hide it in a spot her sister would never look. My GF kinda shrugged it off and said that it's not a big deal, she can go to the pool, it's not like anything would happen and we wouldn't get in trouble if anything were to happen. I feel like if I keep pushing it may cause issues between me and my future sister-in-law, but selfishly I don't want her around our stuff but can't help feeling like an asshole. Am I in the wrong? Edit. I feel I gotta say this because I did paint her in a bad light unintentionally. My GF is nothing like her sister and that's why I love her. She is hardworking, smart, and genuinely a one-of-a-kind person. As for her family, excluding her sister, they are all hardworking genuine people, so not sure exactly what happened in the 3-year age difference between the two. For the most part we are on the same page about her sister. They have had a rocky relationship with her and she wants to believe she's changing for the better. But I think it's getting harder and harder for my GF to think that. She cut all contact with her at the beginning of the year, which was a whole thing, but now she's wanting to be the bigger person and try and fix what she can. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, dude, this sounds like a nightmare. NTA, set boundaries. If the GF can't support and respect them, as well as understand the financial liability her sister causes, do not propose. Explain where you are coming from, explain this is a hard boundary, and if she cannot respect it in you, that you need to think about the future. Reply, let me preface, my GF is usually on my side when it comes to her sister. They've had their own issues. It's just this one small thing that we don't see eye to eye with. We are still talking through it all. And overall I think we both think the same regarding this, it's just different to my GF because that's her big sister who's her family. Family is very important to her as a side note. Commenter 1, family or not, big sister who acts like a child or not, liability is liability. You and the GF are on the lease, not the sister. If the sister does something, who is legally and financially responsible? Who will the management company hold responsible, some rando or the people they have a contract with? Reply, good point. I texted her and we're going to sit down and talk about it tonight. I will update you all on what happens. Hopefully I won't have to return the ring, lol. Commenter 2, are you sure you want to marry into this family? This is some serious baggage. Reply, her sister is literally the outlier. My GF and her parents are all hardworking, normal people, so it is strange when I think about it. But I have almost popped the question before but didn't because of family. But I actually get along with her parents and extended family very well. It's just her sister which I'm not sure what to think of. Commenter 3, as someone who worked in property management for both apartments and an HOA. I hated when families would show up to use the facilities without the actual resident. And then get but hurt when asked to leave. If a resident gave their keys to a non-resident and were not present when using the facilities, it would mean they would lose their privileges. Had one warning. Second was never again. My boss trespassed a teenage boy and his friends for coming without parents. Rules are rules. She is your guest. You are taking responsibility for her. You are responsible for what she does. You could lose your privileges. And I bet if you read your lease HOA rules, it will have something stated in there about the use of facilities, which may cause you to be evicted. Reply, this is great insight into it, thank you. Commenter 4, you can ask your management to reissue you new key cards due to losing one. Ask them to deactivate the old ones. I had to do this with an old key fob I lost for my community's pool. Also, being the bigger person doesn't mean giving in. She was already no contact. Being the bigger person is giving her another chance with the expectation that boundaries are established and respected. That second part is important for rebuilding trust. Reply, the issue with the first part is that a new key card is something crazy like $250 which won't kill me but just seems outrageous. My GF is about to get home from work. So we're about to talk, but I will make an update post tomorrow letting you all know how it goes. Kinda nervous but also excited in a weird way. I just think depending on how this conversation goes tells me what I'll be doing next month. Update. First off, I just want to say thank you for everyone's advice. Especially those who have been in a similar situation. So last night my GF got home from work and we had a conversation about the whole ordeal. I started it off with how many of you suggested and I brought up a copy of our lease agreement as well as HOA clubhouse rules. In both it clearly states that any guests who use the facilities provided must be accompanied by the owners of the lease. Failure to do this may lead to immediate eviction, or financial liability. After pointing this out my GF said she understood that part, and she has been thinking about how she acted during this whole thing as well. She went on to explain that for once she just wanted to treat her sister as her big sister and not a kid that constantly needed watching. Well, I guess after giving her examples of ways this could backfire on us, the sister's already thin trust with us, she agreed with me and we decided it would be best to do the following. Try and find the spare key from her parents' house and retrieve it. My GF is going today to do this. Contact our landlords and have our locks changed. This works out because our front door locks are starting to stick. Set clear boundaries with the sister. This includes, not being here unless one of us is present, no invitation to random people to come over, if that is done she has to leave, and if anything is not followed then contact will be cut. My GF already sent her a text message about this and I told her I can be the bad guy if she would like me to. Her mom actually called me today and said that what I did was a very adult way to go about it all and she appreciates me also standing up for my GF to her sister. The biggest thing that I also think helped was putting this in future perspective with my GF. I laid out a scenario of when we, hopefully, have a house one day and kids as well. Would we let someone who has a known alcohol problem, as well as issues with stealing and safety watch our children alone? She started to cry and said no. I explained to her that's why we need hard boundaries now so that they are not crossed in the future when we have bigger responsibilities. I have a few other things to say so may make an edit but again thank you to everyone for their advice. You really put it in perspective for us. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA, I think you're doing the right thing by setting clear boundaries early on, but I can see how it might feel overwhelming to handle such a sensitive situation with family dynamics involved. What if there's a way to involve a neutral third party to mediate without making things more complicated? Reply. If it gets to that point to where I need a neutral third party I will consider it. As of now, it seems like what I did has worked. But who knows, I might be posting again next month this LOL. Thankfully even her parents are silently on my side as well. That will maybe count for something. Downvoted commenter, maybe my family is different, but you don't need to ask to come over, it's auto. This is my house and my family's house, they can walk in and do whatever they want with whoever they want. But clearly we come from two different cultures so if your girl is okay with it then by all means but my man no my family is showing whenever they want with whoever they want. Reply, it may be a cultural difference. Which is okay. I just don't think it's very appropriate to have a family member bring a random over without informing you first. But I guess I could be the weird one. That also goes for my side of the family as well. Commenter 2, you handled it super well, laying out the rules and talking it through calmly was the right move. Just stick to your plan if her sister tries to push it again, cause keeping those boundaries firm will save a lot of future drama. Reply, that's the name of the game now. Just keeping the boundaries in place and followed. Commenter 3, just here to say, I'm proud of you. You did the right thing and thank you for supporting your girlfriend. Reply, I feel like that's part of why I'm here, you know. She has a hard time standing up for herself and I've seen big improvements by her in this. Anytime something happens to her we always talk it out and maybe different ways to handle it. Stories number 8. Am I the asshole for saying, good job, after my kid defended herself from a bully by punching him? I need to see if I am crazy here. My kid, F13, has a bully. He's one of those kids who's related to someone in the school district. We've has multiple issues with this kid harassing mine, but my kid is bullied a lot sadly. We're actually switching her into a new school because the public schools have done nothing, and this past semester it got physical. The bully pushed her and she stumbled back. Fortunately only scratches, but I was livid. The bully got suspension, but he's been suspended before. I tried talking to the parents and they make excuses, of which the wildest is that they'll probably end up together someday, because of how they argue. I told them under no uncertain terms that their son is not to even look at my daughter, and his only words to her need to be an apology. I got the, "Well, he's suspended, so what else do you want?" argument. This summer she was in STEM camp, she begged to be signed up, but so was the bully, and this time, during their outdoor break, the teacher was physically on his phone when the bully, in full view of multiple students, pushed my daughter and she turned and punched him in the stomach. The bully is now up for possible suspension from the camp, not the district, but I lodged another formal complaint, this time threatening a lawsuit. I asked my daughter if she defended herself, and she said she was afraid he was going to hurt her because he threatened to knock her out. I said okay. Good job defending yourself. Glad you're okay. Let's just catch a movie and decompress. I told my siblings on Father's Day and was immediately told by my eldest brother and his wife that I should never have encouraged her to fight anyone. I argued that I didn't. I am glad she defended herself when she was scared and the person I trusted her care to was not even paying attention. They argue that now she will see punching people as okay the next time she gets her feelings hurt, that I am a bad parent for opening that door. Am I? I mean, if she's in trouble and in physical danger, I don't want her to ever think she will get in trouble for defending herself, but now I'm second-guessing everything. She's seemingly okay now, and I took the week off so we can celebrate Juneteenth together and just decompress from it, but I want her to grow up and be safe. MITAH for saying good job. Holy shit, that's a lot of comments. Editing some typos and also clarifying some questions and assumptions, as I can't answer that many comments tonight. Multiple students confirm her story. So no, I don't think she's lying and started a fight for no reason. She's as level-headed as they come, and I won't say she's never lied to me, but I will say I tend to know when she does. Cameras are being checked because I formally requested today. I am not a dad but a mom, smiley face. Not everyone agreed with my brother, but enough of them did that made me question, and he and his wife were very insistent. Comment. From what I understand of the situation, she ran for the teacher right after she threw the punch. Update. So about a week ago I posted about a bullying sitting with my kid who is F13. And I mentioned this bully is a relative of someone who works high up in our district. I went into a meeting with the district after my formal request for the camera footage of the event, and I continued to follow up via email and call but kept getting stonewalled. I was frustrated, so I spoke with my BFF who works in education, and she suggested a police report would, quote, put a Bunsen burner under their asses. She was right. Once I had a copy of my report for the assault and armed with all my past complaints and emails with the resource officer of the kid's school, I sent it to my point of contact with the district. It's a freaking miracle, I got a call the same day. A meeting was arranged and I meet with them next week. Juneteenth was wonderful, and my kid had a blast. She hasn't been punished, and honestly, I was really enjoying spending time with her, so we took advantage of the time, saw a movie, went shopping, etc. I work a lot and am a single mom, so free time outside the general weekends has been rare as of late, especially now that she's doing camps, making friends, and wanting to do sleepovers and such. I posted some photos on my private account and my brother sent me a text. I won't go into everything, because his message was long, but basically he said I am spoiling her when she should be punished for fighting in school and I will be raising a criminal. I told him that he can mind his business and his own children, and he said, she's not even really yours, and I lost it. My message back was that he's not been supportive since my husband died, and come to think of it, he wasn't supportive when we married. So I don't take his opinion on my daughter with any high regard. And if he and his wife want to instill in children that they should let someone hurt them or others and bullies should have their way, then maybe it's time we spent less time around them. We were going to go to the birthday party for my Isael before all of this happened, a family event. I think my daughter and I will skip that for now. And before it's asked, she is not biologically my daughter but legally, and in the way of the fact that I love her more than anything. I formally adopted her when she was 2 after I married her father. He passed away when she was 6 and I've had sole custody since. Her biological mother is not in the picture. Since my husband passed, it's just been me and her in the day-to-day. I hope to update after the school meeting. Update 2. We had the meeting over Zoom. I came in expecting to have to come in guns blazing like a maniac. I was ready to go off, go fully feral. But I guess all the legal work I've been doing around this was sufficient fire under their rears. I was indirectly asked to not further involve authorities. The footage finally found proved my daughter's story. With this evidence and all the stuff I've managed to bring to the table, plus having a lawyer's contact info sent to them, they finally expelled the kid. I was assured he will not be at school next semester. It was a win but not enough for me to stop the legal actions. Maybe that makes me the AH, but, fuck it. I don't care. Charges are being pressed for assault armed with the video. Here it's not life-ruining unless he keeps the pattern of abuse. But I am also looking to get my kid in a STEM-oriented school since that's her passion right now. I looked at packages and tuitions etc. and it will tight but doable, and I truly believe she's gifted, smart, hardworking enough that giving her a chance to explore this is worth any inconvenience. That should be it, right? Oh, you sweet summer child. My daughter doesn't even know about the meeting. She's been happily in camp elsewhere during the day. But a few days ago she asked me, "Mama, do you think I'm a bad person?" And I told her that I didn't. She asked me why her uncle thinks so. I asked what she meant. My beloved brother's stepson has been texting my daughter as they are actually close. Brother has been shit-talking my kid. He calls her my stray kitten and not real family. That fucking did it. I am having a barbecue at my place for July 4th and I formally uninvited him and his wife. I sent him a text stating that the way he treats me and my kid is simply unacceptable. I am a mom and my duty is to my kid. I cannot have someone who looks down on her and treats her badly come into her home where she is to be safe. He is not a safe person for my child and thus not welcome in my home. My brother lost his mind on me so badly I had to mute his number a while to get some peace. He started with put-downs and insults, but then he went for my kid. He called her some terrible things and then said that I am brain dead for keeping my stray after all the trouble she's made. I just asked, wow. What is your problem with her, really? You're doing the fucking most to hate her. Like, how does a grown man get off hating a literal child? He told me to fuck off. So I sent screenshots to mom. Yeah, I tattled. I'm grown. Don't give a shit anymore. Fuck this guy. He's my brother. I love him. But I do not like him, and if he's going to show his whole ass, may as well fetch mom so she can pull his stick out of it. That was an hour ago. My kid and I headed out for pizza. Have fun, bro. He better be glad it's our mom and not me about to hand him his own hind. Tonight I will try to talk to my daughter about the school, and sadly that uncle and auntie are great liquid shits. I won't use that phrase, but I'm pissed, and so won't be around, and we may be taking some time, just her and me. We are a team. Me and her against the world. I will always have her back. Oh, and she and I will together be taking Krav Maga. Thanks for the suggestions. With the bully dealt with, I think this is my final update, so I wanted to say thanks to everyone who kept this mama sane and were supportive. It's crazy how simple, kind and affirming words can bolster a person. For those who've shared stories of being bullied, I'm sorry you went through that, and as for your bullies, may a popcorn kernel be lodged in each tooth and unreachable every single day. Love always, Chavi and V. Comments. He's already a hypocrite. He's biologically my cousin. He's adopted himself. That's why I told mom. I don't have the brain space or energy to unravel his non-logic. I mean, she's mixed, Afro, Caribbean and Romanian. Anyone on the outside looking in just assume my late husband was white, he was Romanian, and that she is my bio kid as I am black. Update 3. I am without words. A couple days ago I told my eldest brother, Mark, and by proxy also his wife, Julie, to stick it where the sun don't shine after Mark went on a text storm about my adopted daughter. For background, my daughter, Vivi, may not be biologically mine, but she is my daughter. I've known her since her first year of life. I've been her mom since. I married her father when she was too small to even really remember and legally adopted her. She's only always ever called me mama. When my husband passed away, it became me and her against the world. The dynamic duo. Recently Vivi didn't start a fight but finished it with a bully she'd endure for much longer than she should have had to. The whole saga is on my account if you want all those details, but the short is she ended up defending herself from him physically. He's now expelled. My daughter was not punished at home. In fact, I told her good job on defending herself. That's where my butt-crack-brained brother got on his bullshit. He never liked my late husband, unless our daughter, and always had something rude to say about them. But this sent him into a huge tirade on how Vivi will grow up to be a criminal, that I'm encouraging violence, and the next time she gets her feelings hurt she will think it's okay to start a fight. Julie said she is concerned because single-parent households produce angry and bottled-up children who are FSR more likely to end up in jail. I told them I never asked for their opinions and the rest of my siblings agreed with me. But my brother wasn't done. He texted me vile things about my daughter, and his stepson sent video and screenshots of my brother calling her a stray kitten, his apparent favorite insult, and saying that she is not my child and so on. I uninvited him to my 4th of July barbecue, told him he is not to talk to or even look at my child until he fixes his attitude, and he just doubled down. Let me be clear. He is the eldest, but he is adopted too. He is biologically my cousin. 2 of his 4 kids are stepchildren. Julie is a widow. His hypocrisy is breathtaking. So I had my daughter send over all the evidence she had and delete it off her phone, and I took all my screenshots and the like and sent it to my mom. I snitched so hard. I don't have time for this bullshit. Don't know what she said to him, but she called me back that night a few hours later and told me to let her know if he decides to show his whole ass again. She talked to Vivi on speaker while I finished making us some treats before bed and told her that she loves her very much, that Uncle Mark is being a jerk, and if he or Aunt Julie try to bother Vivi or I again to tell her. It rained like crazy on the 4th, so my barbecue only had a handful of folks who lived near me from the family and some friends. Vivi was happy, kicking her other uncle's asses at Mario Kart, and all the adults are drinking and dancing or watching the rain on my porch when who walks in? Mark. Julie. Their 4 kids. Julie strolls right up to me with a whole-ass chicken and asks where she can put it down. I was like, sorry, what? I asked her what she was doing here and why they were there. Apparently my dear old bro didn't tell her about our most recent spat and the invitation being revoked. She looked truly shocked. I'm livid by this point, but the kids are playing video games and Vivi looks happy. She's pointedly ignoring my brother, who said hello to her, and when he doesn't get an answer he throws his hands up and says, so much for manners. My other brother, Zeke, just goes UO to him and starts to talk to him quietly. I could hear Mark arguing, but Zeke just kept his hand on his shoulder. I looked at Julie, who looked like she was in panic fix-it mode. I told her, listen, if they want to leave the kids here for a couple hours that's fine, but my brother is not welcome in my home, so she will have to be THR1 to pick them up. She thanked me, and went to my brother, who now had both our other brothers talking to him. They all walk him out. I heard him say, kids let's go, and his wife said, kids I'll be back by 3. Be good. And pulled him out. I sent him a text reminding him not to speak to my child, and he is not welcome in my home until he apologizes for all the verbal abuse towards Vivi and fixes his attitude about her. My stepdad and mom arrived not long after, and when he was told what happened, Dad started to take his pipe to the porch and sat right next to the front door. Mom arranged it with Julie that she will take the kids home when she leaves, and we managed to have a good time. Today is Sunday. My mom had asked we all go this week, so we did. She did warn me Mark might be there. I warned Vivi. She said it was fine. I told Mom it's fine, but Mark needs to give Vivi a wide berth. And I told Mark via text that he is to stay away from my child. He replied, I don't need reminders. Okay then. Service went fine. I'm not much of a church person, but Vivi had a solo and sang beautifully, so this mama is happy. There was food happening in the event hall, and Vivi asks if she can stay a while and chat with her friends. Sure, I say, have fun. All was well for about 45 minutes. I was sitting with stepdad and one of my brothers when Mark comes over to say his byes. Everyone gets a hug but me. Fine by me. He says, Kitty did a good job up there. And I said, who? And I could see that it was in that moment he knew he fucked up. I don't know if he meant to say Kitty or not, and I don't rightly care. I said, who? Again, and he muttered, Vivica, and I nodded and told him that is her name. Same name she's had the whole time. Julie is trying to get him to leave, and he is almost leaving when Vivi and her friends come up. She told me later she saw her uncle come up to us and not hug me, and that made her mad. So she came up to be near for support with her friends. I did tell her that I'm grown and don't need her to come to my defense, that it's my job to protect her, not the other way around, and her response? Just a nod. Kids. Mark complimented Vivi and she gave a very plain, thanks, then asked if I was ready to go. I said sure if she is. Mark sent me a short text telling me I embarrassed him and our whole family with my show I put on. He's upset now because we don't need to make our issues everyone's business at church, and that I don't even go to church, so why invade his safe spaces? He called me immature and that I need to stay away from his kids so I don't teach them such poor manners. I haven't even responded. Vivi is getting dressed and we are going to my mom's for lunch. Stepdad said Mark outright refused to come when he confirmed I would be there. Mark has told our parents if I am somewhere, he won't be there. My reply? Does he promise? I told my dad, if he wants to be this way we can just go full NC. I don't have patience for this nonsense, and that also meant I am not helping out next time he needs anything. I'm out. Dad got quiet and said he gets it, but to remember that Mark's kids did nothing. He's okay if I want to stick it to Mark, but asks I don't, friendly fire, on their children. I told him we'll talk when we get there. He's going to want to bring up our family vacation, of which I took care of the hotel and passes for because my job is within that industry. I'm usually the go-to for these things. We are supposed to go for the first week of August. We try to do one vacation as a big extended family per year. We'll see how this fucking goes. Update 4. Sorry I posted this the day after I wrote it. I am tired. It seems I picked the right sub for this, cause Mark is on his bullshit once again. Last night went, somewhere. My kid and I arrive and she's off immediately to play with her cousins. I sat on the lawn with my stepdad and Zeke who was already there. Mom was in the kitchen. I did ask if she needed help but I got the same, "Y'all need to get out my kitchen," response as usual, so I retreated for my safety. Julie did come and she came straight to me asking if it's alright. I told her my issue is with Mark but I do still feel my own way about her words about my kid and single parents. We did talk. Julie is the product of a single parent house. I didn't know, both her parents were dead far as I knew, and she strongly feels that kids need a mother and a father in the house. She did admit that Vivi is a good kid and she think I do a good job with her, but when Mark is on his moments she's just learned to not get in the way. I didn't want to pry but did ask if she's alright but had this look like don't even go there, so I backed off. I told her that I love the kids and will do all I can for them, but Mark is really working on his ticket to NC Foreverville. I love him, but I don't like him, and he is a real and present threat to my kid and her well-being. She said she understood and she hopes that she and I can still get on okay for the sake of the kids at the very least, so that the kids aren't also cut off. She told me that they've been having trouble lately as her daughter, Sadie, and Mark have been butting heads a lot. Apparently Sadie is just like her bio dad, stubborn. She's a good kid and has the kindest heart but she's sensitive, Julie said, because she is an empath and expects everyone else to be too. I handed her a beer and asked what she meant because NGL I wanted the tea. I was curious. This was the most Julie ever opened up to me about home life. She and I have a whole history. I will have to post about that later, which is why I always thought she just never liked me. We drank some and she admitted that she and Mark have been at odds over the joint raising of the kids. Sadie calls him dad and is the only of his stepchildren to do so, but they argue a lot. Recently Sadie said she hates him and simply refuses to even look him in the eye and gives him one-word answers. Julie's eyes were watering and she kept wiping her tears and apologizing as it's been a lot. And after Mom talked with him, he's just been so closed off. I managed to gather that when Mom called him she immediately just got to the point and said something like, "Who does he think he is bullying a child, her grandchild," like she wouldn't take issue with it. He tried to say something but she kept talking and finally asked him why he doesn't like her. He got offended and said he loves her and wants her to make something of herself, but my mom made it clear that if he is to interact with my kid he needs to follow my rules just as I've respected his rules with his kids. Julie said Mom said verbatim, "Not your house, ain't your rules," and she told him she is so disappointed that he is treating an adoptive child the way he hated being treated. Julie said she didn't know much of what happened from there because it became a fight between the two of them. He never told her he was adopted. Which is crazy to me because it's no state secret. I mean, we don't use the word adopted in our family, but by bio rules go I am my mother's only daughter and Zeke is her only son. We are no strangers to the concept of chosen family. Never have been, but Julie was, by her account of it, not surprised but more hurt. She did actually believe that Mark was my bio father's son, making my mother his stepmom. No. Mom is biologically his aunt, but his mother passed away because of issues during the birth of him. From what I know of her, I will call her Gem, she was amazingly sweet and knew the birth would be possibly life-threatening. That's why she managed to get the paperwork in place that my mother would take custody if anything happened to Gem. I told Julie as much and she got pale and said Mark said this of my youngest brother and made it all out to seem that he, Mark, and myself were the full biological siblings and fighting. He made it out that everyone else is adopted. It's such a confusing web of lies that I genuinely am not even sure I have it right. Julie spent the rest of time chatting with everyone and getting drunk. Mom let her stay over and Dad called Mark saying she and the kids were staying over. It's summer, the kids will be fine with Mom and Poppy's pool and whatnot. Mom got Julie to the guest room and I started to ask questions as the kids were watching a movie in the living room. What the hell is with Mark? Why is this even happening? He was not always like this, so honestly WTF. I was so pissed. You don't have to believe me, but I generally very even keel. I am chill most of the time. I tend to just be more of the gal that wants to calmly talk it out. One-on-one. Don't make a scene, but this is my kid. I've been fucking calm enough. And this is her uncle. We can try to dance around each other, but this will come to head eventually. And my kid loves her cousins. It will hurt her much more than it will hurt me or him. And fuck him, if his ego is worth more than my child's well-being he is no brother of mine. Anyone who is out to hurt Vivi is no family. I may not have birthed her but I damn well love her and I won't be that parent that forces her to make nice for fucking family when family causes her pain. Mom got quiet and my dad made this angry sad something face and walked off. Mom pulled me into the backyard and we sat in the garden. She said she wasn't telling me any of this to excuse Mark at all, but she feels some of this is her fault. Mark came to her about his bio parents and when he found out his father abandoned them, he became very upset. Mom said he was asking because my father, Mark's adoptive father, was distant with him. She said he, my father, got better as time went on but he did use the phrase stray kitten a couple times. I feel bad for him. I do. But it's not enough for me to feel like I need to fix this. So I told her that this is very sad but he kept his origin a secret from his own wife and his stepchildren hate him, this is already out of control. Him bullying my kid is a symptom of it but even still, he doesn't get a pass. She agreed. She said she made a choice. Vacation can still happen with my help but he will no longer be invited. She said Julie is permitted but under strict rule, and the kids are coming but I can pull the plug if I want and it can just be a sleepover at her place with the kids and all the parents can enjoy kid-free nights. I told her I would tell her by Tuesday, tomorrow. Vivi is at a sleepover with her best friend and I have work to do tonight, so I have a lot on my mind but figured I owed an update on this. I'm just tired mostly but I am not backing down. Mom said she will talk to Mark again but I said that even if he stopped his insults, I would need an apology to Vivi and for him to find help. I live Mark, and I feel for him because I feel like he is just sad now. He feels alone. He's not. He's been my brother forever and he's been family since before I was born. I will always love him. But he's being a prick. And if he's not a safe person for my kid, he isn't allowed near us. Plain and simple, I won't pretend this is easy. It's torture. We as a family are really close. But I can't torment my own child and obligate her to be around a person who mistreats her. I will not teach her to be small for bullies even if the bully is family. I got this text from him an hour ago. Okay, you win. I didn't answer. He sent, please, sissy. I can't take it anymore. I didn't respond so then after 5 misread calls he sent. I get it. I'm not your brother. Okay. But I am family. Can you recognize that? I didn't treat V good. Sorry. She's great okay love you talk to me. I need to talk to you. Okay, I didn't reply and so he sent. Mom has my kid so I'm going to watch that Megan 2.0 movie a day exist a bit. I know I will seem like bad parent, and I own that. I just need a second. I am due to pick her up in a few hours so here I am waiting to go in the theater. Stories number 9. Aita for taking away my dad's girlfriend's keys after she tried to send me to bed. For context, I, 21F, have 4 siblings, 26M, 23M, 12F and 10M. Our uncle has been our legal guardian since our mom passed and my dad has been out of our lives. My 23 years old brother and I are home for the summer from college, my oldest brother lives in the city. Since we've come home my uncle's been away on a work trip, so it's just been me and my siblings around the house. Further context, my dad used to be a problem drinker and was basically estranged for half of my life, very limited contact, and growing up it's always been my siblings and I taking care of each other. For the past year or so, my dad has been wanting to reconnect with us, mainly my younger siblings. He's been getting better in his habits, he was clean for 3 years and managed to keep his act together because of this. We've allowed a couple of visits from time to time. 4 months ago he started seeing someone new, quite a bit younger than him, in her 30s, and she seems to have this strange obsession with playing mom. She visits way more frequently than he does and seems to be under the impression that she's our new stepmom. I think it's kind of weird but we just let her do her thing since she's not harming anyone. She does have this patronizing way of addressing us, it's better with my oldest brothers but with me it gets a little ridiculous sometimes. Again, I kinda just ignore it and go about my own business. A few weeks before my brother and I came home, she was helping my uncle pick up our younger siblings from school and driving them home. Because of that, she was given a key to the house. Since then she's around all the time and just playing parent to my younger siblings, but not really doing much because my older brothers and I take care of the responsibilities. In short, the situation started when we had her and my dad over for dinner. My brothers cooked a great meal and it was all going good until my dad ended up making a very insensitive and inappropriate joke during dinner and she corroborated that joke by making a really ugly insinuation about our late mother. Not gonna get into that. We saw them out and that was that. We put the kids to bed and kinda talked about what happened, and informed our uncle about the situation. We were all unsure of what to do. The next afternoon both my brothers were busy with work and I picked up the kids from school and got home to my dad's girlfriend in our kitchen. This was the first time she's let herself in when nobody was home and it caught me kinda off guard. She had basically come to apologize on my dad's behalf. She said that he felt so ashamed he couldn't bear coming here. I sent the kids to their rooms and explained the situation to her. I also communicated to her that I found her comment to be extremely inappropriate and in poor taste. She started laughing it off, but I was clear with her that we wouldn't tolerate anything like that again, and then she said something like, "It's so cute that you're trying to be their mom, their adult." I kinda just blinked at her. The remainder of that conversation she had that same attitude, just not taking me seriously and treating me patronizingly. Naturally I got fed up and got started on dinner. Where she went for the next while. I think she went into the kids' rooms to help them with homework, but she stuck around for the rest of the night. Out of the kindness of my heart I cooked extra food for her even though she didn't ask for permission to stay, and lo and behold, she stayed for dinner. Later on in the night she was fawning over the kids again, and around 10, in her stepmom manner she was like, "Okay my dears. It's time for bed." My younger siblings were in the living room watching TV. They're usually pretty disciplined at going to bed themselves. At this, they looked over to me, gave me the look like, "What is this lady doing?" and I just shrugged, and they went off to their rooms because it was close to their usual bedtime anyway. Now wait for this, I'm in the kitchen cleaning up. Dad's girlfriend is on her phone at the island. She looks up at me and says, "You too, hon?" It crosses my mind that she could have been joking, but I devise after a moment that this was not a joke and she was in fact sending me to bed. So I say, "What?" She says, "It's getting late, time for bed," and kind of tuts at me. To remind you guys, I am 21 years old. I go to college and am working almost full time in the summer. I've been taking care of my family since I was 12. This woman has been dating my estranged father for barely half a year. So, I give her the benefit of the doubt, that she clearly has some mental issues and is a little crazy. I tell her I think it's time that she went home. She is insistent that I go on to bed, still acting like she's my mom. This gets me a little ticked off. I explain to her that I feel disrespected being talked to like that, and that I'm an adult. And as an extension to our previous conversation, I need her to take me seriously because I don't joke around about my family or my siblings, and she is on thin ice. She continues to laugh me off and goes on in the super patronizing tone. Again she uses the phrase, "It's so cute when teenagers try to act like adults," throws in some stuff about me having a hissy fit and being rebellious. At this point I'm just so fed up by everything, I simply say, "You have 5 minutes to get your things and leave this house." In response she scoffs and gets up and walks off to the bathroom, and on the way I hear her say something along the lines of, "No wonder Anatole, Dad, says you're a frigid little priss." When she's in the bathroom, I go over to her handbag and her keys on the couch. She has a gigantic keyring and a ton of keys, so knowing she won't notice, I remove our house key from the ring. Then I go back to my room. I hear her leave maybe 20 minutes later. The next day, I get a bunch of texts from her, panicking about the key. I told her I took it. She said some stuff, called me a brat, saying she was going to tell my uncle and brothers, and I was being childish. I told her I was at work and if she wanted to talk she could call me at 4. Otherwise she could go bother my brothers about it, but they were at work too, so good luck with that. She went off again with the "stop pretending to be an adult" thing and said that my younger siblings were like her kids and she needed to take care of them, and this was unsafe. The last text I sent her was, "This is the last I'll say this. You've been disrespectful of me and my brothers since we met and dismissed my attempts to communicate with you. I'm no longer investing energy into enduring your behavior. I'm going to be honest, there is very little chance that you are going to get that key back. This is not helping those chances. Like I said, 4 p.m., you can call." She yapped some more, then blew up my brother's phones and texted my uncle as well. I'm writing this as this is occurring. I told my brothers a bit about what happened when she came over, but they don't know the full story. My uncle is also in the dark about this. But I'll tell them what happened if I need to. Look, I don't doubt that in her heart she does truly care for my younger siblings. I don't think she's a bad person or anything, plus my uncle trusted her enough to give her entry into his house. She just really pissed me off. Her whole stepmom act is also really facetious to me. I'd have no problem letting her help out around the house if she was respectful and communicated that's what she wanted anyways. Aita. Gentle update, I had put this in the comments, but for those who didn't see, after Dad's girlfriend's freakout my uncle called me and said, "What's this she's saying about you stole her keys and kicked her out?" And he was already laughing as he said this, because he knows and trusts me and he knows I'm a level-headed person. And I told him, yeah, she tried to put me to bed and called me a priss, and that cracked him up hard. When I told my brothers too, they were like, "Wow, I'm surprised you didn't knock her out." They both knew she could be a little weird, but never had she been like that. I think it was because it was the first time she and I were alone. She is not coming back to the house. Not picking up the kids again. Only sees the kids when they hang out with Dad and oldest brother is around. My uncle has full custody of kids, they are safe. There is more nutty stuff going on with her though. We'll have another update prepared soon. It's gonna be very interesting. Update. First of all, to all those who were concerned about the mental stability of my dad's girlfriend and the safety of our family, do not worry. The children are safe and sound. As I said, I've informed the adults of the family about everything. The kids always have one of us around, and yes, my uncle has full legal custody of them. My dad is, in the nicest way possible, a spineless pathetic shit. Even if his girlfriend wanted to use him to do something, she wouldn't be able to. My uncle has a stable career, is renowned in his field, loved in the neighborhood, so there is no possible legal battle that could be put up. Furthermore, we are keeping an eye on her, and she only sees the kids when my dad sees them. Since the beginning of summer she hasn't picked them up. That was always going to be temporary. And no, she won't be picking them up again. We took your guys' advice and called the school. The kids are out for the summer already, but they know for next semester. We do have cameras around the house. We confirmed that the incident was the first time she was at the house alone. This isn't meant to relieve myself of any responsibility, but I really didn't see that incident coming. She was on good terms with my uncle, friends with my oldest brother, she loved the kids loved her, besides the occasional weirdness toward me and brother too, it seemed fine. I see lots of, why did she have the key in the first place? Again, she was a trusted adult in my uncle's eyes. She was his brother's girlfriend and he thought he knew her well. She volunteered to help pick the kids up after school on days my uncle got a little busy. So, he gave her a key to the house so she could get the kids home safely. A lot of you expressed frustration for how I handled the situation, saying I should have been more proactive or been meaner to her. All fair. I'm sure some of you would have done much better than me. I am simply a low-energy person who's not very reactionary. That's all I can say. But those disappointed that I didn't respond with violence don't seem to understand that you can't risk that with kids in the house. That's not something I want them to see, and God forbid if it escalates, it could put them in danger. As it turns out, you guys were right. She was mistaken about my age, not that it excuses her behavior. She thought I was 18. My uncle cleared it up with her. Yes, I did get an apology after what happened. No, I really can't give a shit. She apologized by saying she was so sorry about what she said and she sensed disrespect from my end which made her defensive, and I just said okay, and left it at that. She apologized to the rest of the family as well about her joke at dinner, and about the comment my dad supposedly made, I have it on good authority that she just fabricated it. You guys don't have to believe me. But I know my father to the bone and he isn't like that. Other than that, thank you all for the ceaseless support. I'm reading all of your comments even if I'm not responding. I appreciate all of your thoughts and advice. For the ease of the rest of this, my dad's girlfriend will be called Sorrel, and my older brothers are Henri, eldest, and Teddy, second. Alright. Get some goddamn popcorn. Here we go. It's my little brother's elementary school graduation and the whole family's there, and my uncle, via FaceTime. Henry's girlfriend, who, after hearing this whole story, hates Sorrel, is there as well. Very happy occasion. Dad is banned. Boo-hoo. After photos are taken, we all go to the park. Little brother loves watching the ducks and digging for snails, and I notice Henri is very distracted by his phone. I ask him what's up. Turns out he was sending photos of the graduation to our dad, which is fine, but he's now asking to come say hi to us at the park since he's nearby. We decide okay, it's a special day, we're all in a good mood, kids want to see their dad too, so dad shows up with Sorrel. Immediately as soon as they get out of the car and greet the kids, Sorrel looks to me, makes a snarky joke, oh hi everyone, hi, hey, oh and there's mom, I'm mom, For the sake of the happy children I just exchange glances with my brothers and say nothing. Throughout the park time she mostly interacts with the kids and Henri. Teddy and Henry's girlfriend get us hot dogs, we move to the picnic bench to eat, and I'm hungry as hell so I wipe up 3 dogs in a matter of 5 seconds. Here Sorrel says the second thing of the day to me, you're gonna have a lot of yakking to do after that. And she gestures to her mouth with her fingers. Context, I'm healthy and slim. I have a high metabolism. So I naturally eat a lot. I take this as her saying that I'll have to pull trig. So I just say, I don't do that. And I keep eating. Fast forward, Henri and his girlfriend have gone to the bathroom, we're wrapping up, Sorrel turns to my dad and goes, babe, if you're tired, I can take the kids home. Teddy snorts into his water cup and says something like, lady you're crazy. I say, nah we're good. She says, are you sure? I don't mind driving. I tell her I drove. She says, you can drive? This makes my younger siblings look at each other and giggle. At this point I am just sitting back sipping on my soda helping my little brother sort the rocks that he collected like I don't care what comes out of this lady's mouth anymore. Dad steps in, context here, I learned driving from my dad, he used to be a street racer, and he goes, yeah she drives like a bat out of hell. My car is sitting down the street in view. He points to it and says, that's her ride, nice isn't it? I spent years working on it. Sorrel goes to my dad, so that's where all your money ends up. Dad says, oh. No. Her money. Sorrel starts asking me a bunch of questions about how much the car was, how much money I make, etc. It was really weird. Henri and his girlfriend return. More small talk happens. We get on the topic of Henry's work banquet. Context, it's a big gala event held at an opera house, there's an earlier mingle for my brother and a +1, then the family comes for the banquet. My brother's girlfriend has to get knee surgery the day before, so I'm supposed to go as the +1. So he's talking about the whole event. My brother asks our dad and Sorrel if they'd like to be there, but it's very late notice so it's okay if they can't. They say of course they'll come. Henry's GF says, so sad I won't be there. So Sorrel goes, who are you walking in with then? Henri says, I asked Charlie, me, by default after we found out, GF, couldn't be there. Sorrel's like, your sister. Isn't that kind of weird, and she does this face scrunch thing. Henry's GF wasn't putting up with it, she just said, no. Not weird at all. Then Sorrel says to Henri, alright but we'll get some photos together right, and before he can say anything his GF goes like, yeah there's the family photo stuff at the end. I don't know if they have it for extended family though. And turns and walks off to throw away the trash. That kinda wraps up the park day. 2 nights later. Henri is back at his apartment with his GF. I'm home with my other siblings. I get a FaceTime call from him. I pick up, he says, get Teddy. Right now. I get my other brother. Henri is apparently bewildered about something. I can hear his girlfriend in the background. He tells me he's sending me screenshots, I say okay. Teddy and I read them. The screenshots are of Henry's text conversation with Sorrel. He only had Sorrel's contact in case of emergency, when she was picking up the kids from school last month. As we're reading them, Henri explains that she initiated a light text conversation after the incident with me, just asking after our general well-being, making small talk. He held her at arm's length but to be nice texted her back. The texts he sent me start off with Sorrel asking about the gala again and what she should wear. Henri politely texts back that he already communicated this with his dad, so she can just ask him. After a few more texts she goes back to the topic of his +1 for the carpet event. She says that it would be so good for her networking, blah blah, she works in a similar sector as my brother, that he should make sure to get photos of them together, and was he sure he wanted to go with me as his +1? And she said the brother-sister thing might be kinda weird, like people might mistake that we're dating. He responded curtly that it's very normal and he's taking me and then she starts asking about where he takes his lunch. Context, it was mentioned at the park that my brother sometimes misses lunch because he sleeps in and doesn't have time to pack it in the morning, especially on the days he has to drive the kids to school. She then offers to bring him lunch at his work. Her last text reads, wouldn't want my baby boy to go hungry. My jaw is on the floor. Teddy is cackling. I can hear Henry's girlfriend in the background going that bitch, that bitch. None of us have any idea if she meant baby boy in her weird stepmother way or if it was a sexual innuendo. Because God knows with this woman at this point. We come to the decision that these screenshots are going straight to my dad. We consider maybe it was just a weird millennial thing, the way she texts, and we're thinking we probably will have to have a conversation with her about her behavior, me and my brothers. Because as of right now we're reckoning with the fact that this lady may be impregnated by our brick-headed father and be the future mother of our next sibling. Which would be a fucking nightmare. The same night Henri tries to talk to our dad about our concerns with Sorrel but gets brushed off. Gala day. I go to the mixer with Henri, and Teddy arrives later with the kids in tow. At the banquet she's doing her weird mom thing again, telling the kids to go make their plates, lecturing them about vegetables, etc. I have to keep an eye on them because my little sister is allergic to almost everything on the planet and my little brother is autistic and has sensory issues that will cause him to throw up when he tries to eat something that he forgets he doesn't like. I'd packed meds and sandwiches for the kids in lieu of the issues mentioned above. Little bro had stacked his plate upon Sorrel's instruction but when he got back to the table, the food on the plate was touching, so he couldn't eat it anymore. Sorrel starts tutaying and tells him to eat, but by God you could hold a gun to his head and that kid will not touch his plate. Parents of kids with autism, you know what I'm talking about. He says he's lost his appetite and asks me if I have any food, and I silently give him the sandwiches I'd packed because I knew this would happen. Sorrel tells me to stop babying him. Looks to Dad for support. Dad puts his hands up, he knows he can't step in about shit. Little sis comes back next with a Greek salad on her plate. Henri and I automatically start picking the olives out, stone fruit allergy, and Sorrel starts again with the babying comment, these kids are gonna grow up to be picky eaters if you baby them like that. Henri explains she's allergic. Sorrel suggests that we can fix it with exposure therapy. I tell her that she will vomit if she eats olives. I then suggest that she go take some photos with Henri because I'm starting to grow irritated with her presence at the table. When Sorrel returns, I'm giving my little sis her mealtime meds. I've been administering my little siblings medication since I was 16. Sorrel slides into the seat next to us, puts her hands out, starts saying in a hushed voice, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" She can't take that with food. I gather that she's mistaken it for my sister's HT meds, which she's seen us give her 2 hours before dinner usually because it can't be mixed up with food. But I'm giving her diabetes mealtime meds. Funny enough, it's my little sister that speaks up first. She's quick as a whip, and says, "No, I need to take it now. It's metformin. If I don't have it I'll poop myself." This makes us laugh. Sorrel goes, "Oh. I thought it was her Synthroid." Teddy says, "Nope, I gave that to her in the car." Sorrel goes, "Oh, you could have told me that." Teddy says, "Why would I?" Mazarit, come on now. After the dinner and speeches are over we get in line for family photos. While we're in line my little sister starts to feel sick from the soda she drank and I take her to the bathroom. She ends up vomiting but feels better immediately afterwards. Some of it ends up on my dress so I have her go get water and go back to the family while I clean up in the bathroom. As I'm cleaning up, Teddy starts texting me. Apparently they had reached the head of the line and were waiting for me, but Sorrel kept insisting that they go on ahead and get photos taken. Clearly everyone found this incredulous and Henri had them step out of the line. Sorrel and Dad ended up going ahead to take their photos and rejoins the family. When I get back to them, Teddy was holding onto my scarf and he puts it back around my neck, then Sorrel reaches over and tugs part of the scarf down to cover more of my chest I guess, and she's like, "That's better. More family friendly," and winks at me. I readjust it and say, "Please don't presume to touch me ever again." I didn't mean it in a rude way, I said it very calmly, I literally just meant what I said. But this offends her greatly. She grabs Henri and says, "Oh my God, did you hear her?" But my dad pulls her away a little and he's whispering to her to calm down and whatnot. We get to the carpet for the photo. Sorrel starts ushering and arranging us like, "Dad over here, okay, brother here, little ones in front," and she puts her and my dad in the center, like they're the parents, with their hands on the shoulders of the kids in front, and my older brothers on either side. She put me off to the side, obviously. I can't care anymore. I just want to get out of there and go home. After a few photos Henri kindly suggests we take some of just him and his siblings. And then he pulls me to the center and as we're rearranging he whispers to me, "Good job putting up with this, we're almost done." A few more photos, then Sorrel says, "How about just me and the boys," and she has me and my little sister step off. Then she giggles, wait, carry me," and proceeds to jump onto my dad and Henri, and has them lift her in front of them. We do a last full family one to finish it off, for which she arranges me behind her so she's pretty much completely blocking me from the camera. Again, I'm tired and exasperated so I could not care less. As the banquet wraps up we head on outside, getting ready to leave. Henri takes the kids for a bathroom trip before the drive. We're making small talk. At some point the topic of dessert comes up and I make a comment about the crème brûlée they had and I pronounce it in French. Because it's a French word. And I'm French. And Sorrel interrupts and goes, "Crème brûlée," in a really exaggerated mockery of how I said it and she laughs like it's funny. Unfortunately that was my last straw and I say, "Anatole, take your girlfriend and get in the car, right now. Because I'm about to kick this woman in the head." She scoffs and looks at me like I'm acting out and says, "Sweetie, that's no way to talk to me or your dad." I tell her that her glue on eyelash is falling off, it is, and I start walking to my car. I'm pretty sure I hear her calling me a bitch as I'm walking away. I get in my car and I see, and distantly hear, her and my dad and Teddy arguing. Henri comes back out with the kids, and Teddy takes them back to the other car while Henri stays to hash it out. Sorrel is obviously having it out about me because I can see her angrily pointing at my car as she's talking to Henri. I change out of my heels in the car and Teddy texts that he's gonna start driving home with the kids. He said he basically told Sorrel to go fuck herself and my dad to dump her. After a while Henri comes back to the car and gets in looking very haggard. I asked him what happened. He just leans back and blows out air with a hand on his forehead and says, "Ella Pete on cable," like she has gone crazy. So I start the car and we're about to get on our way when I hear a rap on my window, and Sorrel and my dad are standing there. So I open the car door. Sorrel is crying hysterically and blubbering something, her makeup is running, my dad supporting her by the elbows, and immediately I regret not just driving away but now it's too late and they're standing in the way of the door. I can barely understand what she's saying but it's something along the lines of, "I don't know what I did to deserve this treatment, I don't know what I did to you, you don't have to be so protective about everything, whatever," so I tell her that I personally am done with her, but out of respect for her relation with my dad, she can have a conversation with Henri or my uncle tomorrow, but I think she should just go home for now. She stopped crying but she's still talking hysterically, and says, "No but like what is your problem with me, everything was fine until you came back, you're starting all of this for no reason like you don't want the kids to have a mom, like I raised them too," and I say that yes, actually, I don't want the kids to have a mom like her, nor do they, and I reach to close the car door but she steps in the way and keeps going. "Why are you so territorial? Not everything's a competition, I'm not here to steal your spot, just because you think you should be the only woman around, does not mean you should treat other women disrespectfully." At this point I'm trying to budge her out of the way so I can close the door, my dad is in the background telling his girlfriend that they should go, Henri is chiming in saying, "Dad get her out of here," and she's struggling to stay in front of the door. I go into the glove box and I grab this key to our old storage unit that we don't use anymore. I yell at her to shut up and this silences her momentarily. I hold up the key, looks close enough to our house key, I tell her to fetch and toss it behind her. She goes to get the key, I had accidentally grabbed a $5 bill with it so before I closed the door I stuffed the $5 into my dad's dinner jacket and I don't remember what I said because I was so mad but it was something like, "Go buy yourself a better side piece," and I ran the gas out of there. "So we've just gotten home." She blew up Henry's phone on the drive back and kept trying to call him. I sincerely hope this is the end of the story and I won't have to give another update. If I do, it will either be because my dad has left her, or he's gotten her pregnant. Praying it won't be the latter. I'm turning in. I'll answer questions in the comments. Thank you for bearing with the story. I hope I never have to hear or see this woman again but I'm guessing that's not likely. Quick update because this is pissing me the fuck off. I really don't give a shit if anyone thinks this story is fake, that's fine, if I read it I'd think it's fake too. So that's whatever, but I just had someone come into my comments to try to say that this story was ChatGPT generated, because I used proper capitalization and em dashes, and my last story was written like a hot mess, so how could this one be written properly? I am going to blow my fucking fuse. Take a look in my last post at the amount of people who gave me shit about my capitalization, punctuation, and my rambling that made it obnoxious to read. I specifically wrote this one a bit nicer, with proper caps. For you guys, I need to emphasize that both were typed out on my phone, the first quite harried, this one not much better but with more care, and I will not have you guys call me a shit writer in my first post just for me to put a bit more energy into this one and have it called a fucking AI production. This is the last I'll entertain of this. Run some GPT checkers if you're so insistent. God forgive me for not putting the brainwork of a Tolkien saga into these posts. May my Reddit Uber be spared from the ignominy of AI allegation. Second small update to address some common questions. Why are you still letting her around? Why are you still tolerating her? Why didn't you just get her out of your lives? After the dinner incident, we saw her on 2 more occasions, which were 2 days apart, at the park after the graduation and at the banquet. She was only at the park because she tagged along with my dad, who my little brother wanted to see. And she was at the banquet because my oldest brother was still optimistic that we could repair something with her. I, as well as Teddy and his girlfriend, advised him to rescind his invitation. This part was too long to include in the story, but that night when he spoke to his dad about Sorrel, his dad basically begged him to give her another chance and said that they could all talk as a family after the banquet. He also said the texts, and Sorrel's snarky jokes, were just a harmless part of her character. The banquet was already the next day, anyway, so my brother thought, they can come, and we can discuss things afterwards. Neither of those events involving her was at my call to say whether or not she should have been there. Plus, as I'd already mentioned, the only reason we considered maintaining our relationship with her is the possibility that she could be the mother of our next sibling. I want to reiterate that these events starting from the family dinner took course over the period of 3 days. It happened very quickly and for the majority of that time we were deliberating the right course of action. 2. What about your dad? Why are you treating him so good all of a sudden? First he's a no-good deadbeat and now he's allowed at all these events. We are not really treating him any differently. He was banned from the graduation but my little brother wanted to see him afterwards. He was invited to the gala because Henri felt bad that he wasn't allowed at the grad. He does not normally attend family events with us. The gala is the first thing he's come to in many, many years. Regularly, he sees the kids every other week, for the past half a year now. He was absent and not a good dad for most of my life, thus I refer to him so harshly. I do recognize that people have the potential to change and I'm not going to so quickly squander a chance for my younger siblings to grow up with a dad better than the one I knew. So I'm getting ready for work as I write this. This morning Henri was at this hospital with his girlfriend who's recovering from knee surgery, but we had a family FaceTime with him and my uncle and kind of unpacked everything. My uncle is going to talk to dad about this whole thing. Our consensus is that we don't really want to see her again, and she's not allowed on visits or to contact the kids. We've also blocked her number. Update 2. Aita for taking away my dad's girlfriend's keys after she tried to send me to bed. So it's been about a month since my last update. Sorrel is pregnant. We found out from a family friend who still followed her on social media and saw that she had posted ultrasound photos. This is obviously hard to process for all of us and we're trying to make a joint decision on how to proceed, so I would appreciate everyone's empathy in regards to our actions and choices. What we are doing now is basically collecting a paper trail on her, just as much documentation as we can get in the case that she somehow manipulates this pregnancy into a legal advantage, which is unlikely, but we're taking all the precautions. After we made this discovery, my uncle reached out to Anatole, Dad, and he basically said that yes, they were expecting, but they didn't mean for us to find out like this and were working on a way to tell us personally. He said he would respect whatever we decided in this matter but vouched for his girlfriend and said he had changed and wanted to be a better dad for his new kid. And obviously, they were still hoping for the chance that they could be included in the family. Personally, I suspect Sorrel may have been texting through his phone, though my uncle didn't have any such suspicion, so My brothers and I also went through the rest of her Facebook and found some other upsetting things. Prior to the ultrasound photos, she had been posting photos of our family, mostly our younger siblings. One example is when our little brother got sick 2 months back, she had come over to take care of him and she posted a photo of him in his pajamas, sitting in front of his lunch and smiling, and the caption was, "Sick day, sad face, but I get to spend time with my precious baby," and TBH my gut reaction when I saw that photo was honestly, like it made my gut turn. So my uncle saw these as well and basically sent her an email saying that she had to take down all the photos with my younger siblings in them, never to put their faces online again, and if she didn't he would write a cease and desist letter and pursue legal action. She sent back a very apologetic email, apologized very profusely, and took down the photos. Some other stuff we found on her social media, which were not as concerning, was just captions of her talking about our family situation, not naming anyone or giving away too much but victimizing herself. Given that we're still trying to make a decision about all of this, Henri opened a very cautious line of communication with her through text. She's been very apologetic and congenial and just giving information about the pregnancy. Henri said that after he asked, she had showed him more ultrasound photos, prenatal labs, appointments, basically confirming that she wasn't lying. The only off-putting thing she said in their text is he reminded her of the father she always wanted for her kids. So then about a week ago, Sorrel texts Henri asking him to come to her next ultrasound appointment. Henri automatically was going to say no, but he showed us first, and I had told him, say yes, see what she says. This I have kept more to myself but I am still suspicious that this pregnancy might be a sham. I just feel like there's something more going on, whether or not it is entirely fake, but it's not something I'm going to push really hard with my family because we're all troubled and overwhelmed to different degrees and I don't want to add to it. Henri replied yes, then some days later, she said her OB was out of town and she had to push things back. And she only likes seeing this specific OB. I have made a large mental note of this yesterday, and this is what prompted me to make the update, and I am still working through some emotions related to this. It was the day after my little sister's birthday. I was home alone with my younger siblings. Anatole came to hang out with the kids, watched a few episodes of their favorite show with them, and brought presents for my little sister. There was one specific present that he said was from Sorrel, which I took, and I opened it in the kitchen later in the afternoon. If this has been forgotten since my first post, which is understandable, I share a mother with my 2 older brothers who passed away when I was a kid. One of my very few memories with her is a tradition she liked to do every summer, making mazamorra morada, yam corn pudding dessert from Peru, together, and we continued this tradition after she passed. And when I got older I naturally took over and did it with my younger siblings. I know our mother isn't their mother, and I'm not their mother either, but it just keeps a part of her with us. I never got to learn Spanish from my mom like my brothers did, so for me it's also a way to connect with my Peruvian heritage. So the present Sorrel had given was 2 mason jars of Mazamora Morada she had made and a note to my sister, part of it saying, "Oh, I hope I made it as good as Charlie did." Honestly, I just felt so sad in that moment. I don't know if it's dramatic to say, but I felt like this very precious thing I had with my siblings had been tarnished, like touched by this ugly gesture. I knew in my gut when I opened it that it wasn't just some innocent loving birthday present for my sister. And I don't have any way to prove it, but I know she did it as a dig at me. I think she found out from one of my younger siblings talking about it, and they know it's a tradition from my mom that I do with them, and I just know Sorrel understood that significance even if I can't prove it. And I know I'm just venting to strangers on the internet at this point, but the worst part is, those jars are just sitting in our fridge right now, and my little sister and brother have no idea, not that I would ever want them to, and this thing from my mom I never imagined it was, like, in danger of a situation like this, like I literally feel violated. Not to be dramatic again. So after that happened, I was feeling very intensely like J.E. Perdeus Les Petals. I walked Anatole out and told him I refused to see him or hear from him again until he left her. I know that's a very emotional thing to say, but I think I was trying to express how much I wanted Sorrel away from us in terms that Anatole would recognize. I haven't talked about this to my family yet, but I'll probably tell my brothers and uncle today. I just did not feel like I had the words for it yesterday, nor was I in the right state. I want to say again that we're still in the middle of going through this stuff and we haven't decided what to do yet, concerning our relationship with Anatole and Sorrel and our next sibling. Personally, I don't think the risk of having those two people in our lives is worth the connection with their child, as I unceremoniously expressed to my father yesterday. I'm at a loss if you've read this far, thank you, and I again appreciate all words of advice. Stories number 10. Wibta, if I stopped covering for my friend who forgets her wallet every time we go out and never pays me back. Okay, so this might sound petty, but I honestly feel like I'm being used and I'm getting real tired of it. I, 28F, have this friend, let's call her Lexi, 29F. We've been tight since college. Same friend group, been through ups and downs, all that. She's funny and fun to hang out with, but when it comes to money, she's got this habit that's starting to seriously piss me off. For the past few months, every time we hang out, and I mean every time, she somehow forgets her wallet. First couple times I brushed it off. We've all had those moments, right? I didn't want to make a big deal. I paid for her coffee, or lunch, or whatever. She'd be like, "I'll send it to you later," but then, crickets. I'd remind her a few days later, and she'd hit me with, "Oh shoot, totally forgot. I'll do it tonight." Then nothing. Eventually I just stopped asking because it got awkward, and I figured maybe she was struggling a bit financially. But even then, a heads up would have been nice instead of just acting like it's no big deal. Fast forward to now. It's happening every single time. We'll go out for brunch, she'll order bottomless mimosas like she's Beyoncé, and right when the bill comes, suddenly she's patting her pockets like, "Girl, I left my wallet in my other bag, can you get me?" I've covered her Ubers, drinks, movie tickets, even bought her a birthday gift for someone else because she said she'd pay me back later. Never saw a dime. The kicker. She invites me out. Like, "Let's do dinner, my treat next time," and then pulls the same crap. And if I say I can't afford to go out, she'll be like, "Come on, you make way more than me, don't be stingy." Like, girl. That's not the flex you think it is. So now I'm at a point where I kinda wanna just stop hanging out with her unless it's something free or she pays first. I've thought about calling her out straight up, but I don't want to make it a whole fight. Part of me feels bad. Maybe she is broke and just embarrassed. But also, I'm not her sugar mama. I mentioned it to another friend and they were like, "Yeah, that's just how Lexi is," which honestly made me even more annoyed. Like, why is that okay? So yeah, Wibta, if I just said I'm not covering her anymore and stopped going out with her unless she handles her part up front. I'm not trying to be cold, but I'm also not trying to go broke being a good friend. Stories number 11. My 28F, sister, 33F, has been pushing me to be a surrogate, now entire family is begging me. I agreed at first, but now I am having major second thoughts. How do I tell them no? My sister was the favorite one and generally there has been a lot of bad blood between us for a number of years. My sister is kind of a bully, and she is kind of the opposite of me. But I have grown up and gotten over it. My sister has been trying to have a child for years now, she has had multiple miscarriages over the years and tried everything possible. I feel bad for her, I really do. But for the last 2 years she has been hounding me non-stop about this. My family too have been pushing me extremely hard since last Christmas where I confided in my parents that my didn't seem to want to propose, and felt somewhat stuck. Finally in May I agreed to it. I was not in a great place. I had thoughts my SO was planning to break up with me after our long planned trip for 3 weeks to Japan. Instead he proposed and we talked a lot and worked out some major issues, and we have been happier than ever. When we got back I told him about agreeing to be a surrogate, and he told me it was my choice. However, when I told my parents about us being engaged, the first thing they did was comment about how I already agreed to being a surrogate for my sister, not congratulations, not I am so happy for you. My mom then lectured me on how everyone needs to make proper sacrifices for family and other things. Then when talking to my sister it became way more complicated. She expects me to relocate and move in with her, as she needs to be a part of the process. She lives over 9 hours away. So I need to quit my job, and my so will also need to quit his job. Then she told me they don't have room for my so in their 6-bedroom McMansion. I am going to have extremely strict dieting, exercise, health, hygiene requirements as they don't want anything unhealthy to hurt their child. I mean really insanely strict. For 6 months afterwards I am expected to stay with them to breastfeed their kid, and I am expected to play a massive part of caring for the child as they don't want him to have abandonment issues. Constantly reiterating this is, their child not mine, and I am forbidden to ever tell him that I was his birth mother. I am required to stop taking my ADHD medications, which I have been taking since I was 8. There was a lot of other things pretty much implying that on top of all this they will not be helping me financially for this entire process as it's for family. I had massive second thoughts, and after talking to some people who did it they all told me to run. My sister is very controlling and demands people bend to her will. So I told my parents, overwhelmed, and laid out everything about this, and my mom told me to grow up and lectured me. I agreed to be optimistic. My sister already bought me a ticket. In 3 weeks I am required to go have my first meeting with their fertility specialist. She says they hope they can start the process by September. But I just can't, but I feel if I refuse I am going to be disowned by my family. How do I tell them and explain them this without losing my family? TLDR, sister wants me to be surrogate, then gave me list of rules now I don't want to. Family gonna disown me if I don't. Stories number 12. Aita for wearing a white dress to my friend's wedding. I can't believe I'm using this Reddit account for another wedding related issue. I, 20F, met my friend Charlotte, 21, when I moved into my college dorm in August 2020. We got along well, shared ideas for how we wanted to divide space and keep things clean organized, and had many similar interests. Within a month we were studying and hanging out together, and I considered her a good friend. I also met her now husband Josh, 22. They seemed like a cute and loving couple, and I was very happy when they got engaged Christmas 2020 after 3.5 years together. Charlotte has spent the last 18 months planning this wedding down to the last detail. I won't say she's obsessive, but it's been intense and I've tried to help her as best I can with making appointments, managing stress, etc. I also gave her $250 to help pay for the wedding. Her family can only afford part of it, which isn't included in the wedding gift I'm going to give her. A month before the wedding, I was still trying to decide exactly what to wear. I wanted something nice, because Charlotte said she would have a photographer, videographer, and wedding painter. I knew Charlotte had a vision for her wedding and I wanted her as in control as possible for all the details of her special day, so I asked her which dress out of the 3 I'd narrowed it down to that I should wear. She asked if I would actually pull out all my dresses, so I did. She ended up narrowing it down to one of my picks, along with a dress I had put firmly in the no pile for being white. It was a wedding after all. She told me both dresses were lovely, but that she prefers the white one. I asked if she was sure, and she said yes, and even picked out a pair of pink and white heels from her closet to go with my dress. I figured that was that. Fast forward to last week, I show up in the dress about half an hour before the ceremony. I get some weird looks, but no one says anything. In hindsight, this is when I should have realized something wasn't right. When Charlotte comes out of her dressing room for some last-minute pictures, she looks shocked to see me, and then she starts turning red. She pulls me aside and starts going off on me immediately about wearing the dress to her wedding. I'm stunned. I ask her what the problem is, because she picked the dress out, and she told me it was a friendship test, and that if we were real friends then I wouldn't have worn a white dress or her shoes to her wedding. I started laughing because I honestly thought it was a joke, and she screamed at me that I ruined her FING wedding, and to GTFO. I flat out told her she was crazy and left, not wanting to fight anymore and not knowing how to deal with what happened. I grabbed my wedding gift to them on the way out. My phone has been flooded with texts, voicemails, and social media notifs from her friends, and her family about what an I am, but I honestly don't see what I did wrong. Am I really the asshole here? Edit. Quite a few people have said YTAESH because you should know not to wear white anyway, and I just want to clarify that I brought this point up to Charlotte more than once while asking if she was sure, and she insisted that I wear the white dress. She said I would look lovely and she wanted me to look my best for her wedding because she wanted very nice pictures videos. I would not have worn this dress if she had not assured me multiple times that it was what she wanted. Edit 2. Someone made a comment about how, if the bride is wearing white, I should at least be prepared for the weird glances. The bride didn't even wear white. That was another non-traditional thing she did. She wore blue. Top comments. Yup, she tested whether or not she was your friend, and guess what? She's not. When someone is mad at you because they lied to you and you believe them, that person is TA, regardless of what conventions exist in the broader culture about colors of dresses. Your friend lied to your face and embarrassed you in public just to see if she could. NTA. I was super ready to say YTA, but this chick picked out the dress as a friendship test. That's absolutely bananas. She's an attention-seeking psycho, and I'd say stay as far away from her and any of her flying monkeys as possible. If there are any mutuals you don't want to give up without a fight, maybe make a statement about what she did, and how inappropriate her action were to trick you. Update on AITA. Okay, it's been a crazy few days since I posted that. I had to wait until I was home to read all of the comments, and they just kept pouring in. Thank you to everyone who gave me feedback on why they thought I was or was not TA. I texted Charlotte the day after making the post, sometime around 4 p.m., and told her she had 48 hours to tell her friend's family the truth and get them to stop sending me hateful messages or I'd tell them the truth myself. She told me I had no proof and that no one would believe me. I should have just gone ahead and posted proof, but I wanted things to be ended as diplomatically and non-dramatically as possible. I called her husband around lunchtime 2 days later to see if he could talk some sense into her, and that's when things got weird. I had him on speaker and was recording the convo extra evidence in case he knew about the dress thing. At this point I didn't know if he did or didn't. It turns out he did, but when I tried to convince him to talk Charlotte down, he tried to talk me down, saying I needed to let it go and just admit I was wrong so everyone can move on. He said, Charlotte can be a little dramatic, you know that, she loves attention. She'll forgive you if you apologize. I told him I didn't do anything wrong, but he said, I know, but just suck it up and apologize anyway. That's what I do. I told him I wasn't going to apologize and they only had a few hours left before I told the truth for them, and then he offered to sleep with me as an apology. I told him to F off and hung up. I waited out the remaining bit of those 48 hours, and then I took to FB and posted screenshots of that conversation plus the couple of times I checked in with her about the dress by text featuring date time stamps. I also added the recording of her husband hitting on me. That was Friday evening. Now it's Monday morning and I've had to block Charlotte, her husband, and a few of their friends' family who still support them and are cross with me about trying to ruin their marriage. Most people have reached out to apologize, but I'm honestly just thankful this is all over. Hoping my social circle can go back to normal after this and that this will turn into another funny story I can tell friends in the future. Edit, just a note because a lot of people have brought up the $250. No, I haven't gotten it back, but I did send her and her husband a Venmo request for the money back. I'd also like to make it clear to those arguing about it, I didn't give Charlotte the money because she asked for it. I donated it of my own volition because I knew she still had part of the wedding left to pay for and I wanted to take a tiny bit of stress off her in that area since I could afford to. Her family wasn't covering 3-4 because it was too expensive, it's because they believe when you get married you should cover some of the costs yourself as a recognition of the kind of commitment you're making. Charlotte and Josh weren't struggling to afford things, I just wanted to be a good friend because we become so close and she was with me through a couple of very hard things these past 2 years. It hurts a lot to have lost her as a friend. She had become the sister I'd always wanted growing up and it really feels like I lost a family member here. Edit, just a note because a lot of people have brought up the $250. No, I haven't gotten it back, but I did send her and her husband a Venmo request for the money back. I'd also like to make it clear to those arguing about it, I didn't give Charlotte the money because she asked for it. I donated it of my own volition because I knew she still had part of the wedding left to pay for and I wanted to take a tiny bit of stress off her in that area since I could afford to. Her family wasn't covering 3-4 because it was too expensive, it's because they believe when you get married you should cover some of the costs yourself as a recognition of the kind of commitment you're making. Charlotte and Josh weren't struggling to afford things, I just wanted to be a good friend because we become so close and she was with me through a couple of very hard things these past 2 years. It hurts a lot to have lost her as a friend. She had become the sister I'd always wanted growing up and it really feels like I lost a family member here. Stories number 13. AITA for refusing to be the free babysitter at every family function just 'cause I'm the youngest dude in the family. Yo, keep getting stuck watching my little cousins, ages baby to 8, at every single family thing. 'Cause my TIAs are like asterisk, Jamie, you're such a responsible young man. Translation, we want to drink wine and gossip without ankle biters wrecking the vibe. Yesterday, I finally snapped. Told nah, I didn't sign up for this, and now the group chat's blowing up calling me selfish and disrespectful. Even my brother John, 23, who dipped to college and never looks back, hit me with the, bruh, they're Wilden, but you could have been smoother. So, Aita. Like, is it really my job to play built-in daycare just 'cause I'm the only guy under 25 who hasn't knocked someone up yet? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, TBH, I genuinely appreciate that they have this expectation of you as a dude. I had to deal with that expectation while my brother dodged it completely. My family never considered that there's another whole-ass adult they could ask to babysit while guilt-tripping me for not being at their beck and call. Also, NTA, it will never end until you put an end to it. Reply, between schoolwork and all that, I'm exhausted. I mean, yeah, I could babysit sometimes, but every day. Come on, I'm not an after-school program. I just want to get home, eat something, and maybe play something without a crying toddler next to me. Even my mom has been telling her sisters to calm down. Commenter 2, so your aunts come over your house every day with the kids? I thought you only see them at family dinners a couple times a month. So they want you to babysit every day plus at the family dinners. Hell no, you need to put a stop to that now. Maybe hang with your friends if you can. I would be out of the house as much as possible. Just keep saying no, yeah, they'll be pissed but eventually they'll get over it. Or not. But not your problem. Reply, they take advantage of family dinners, I suppose to exert social pressure, but they come every day to drop off their children as soon as I say yes. Commenter 3, NTA, you should not be the designated babysitter because the moms want to drink and gossip. If you don't go, who else would get stuck with them? Reply, the worst thing is that if I say something they attack my mom, but she didn't even ask them for help while she was raising me, not that she needed much help either, because dad was also taking care of me. Commenter 4, why can't the dads show up and watch their kids? Reply, there are 3 sis, 2 of them have husbands who work long hours and they also work. One of them is single and works. I usually never refuse with my single aunt, because her son is 5 years old and is well educated. Besides, it is difficult for her to survive with just one job, but the others can afford babysitters. They simply take advantage of the fact that I do this favor for my aunt, to use me. Commenter 5, NTA. From language use we can assume you're Hispanic or Latino. I'm 24 and my husband, 24, is also Hispanic. And the oldest of all the kids. I have never seen him be put in charge of the cousins, even before we were married. They just don't want to deal, but their kids are not your problem. Reply, thank God someone noticed. Mom is from the Dominican Republic and raised us speaking Spanish. People always say I have a strange vocabulary. And indeed, they're not my children, they're not my responsibility. Besides, I'm 15. Update 1. About my family background, actually, this isn't that dramatic. I've had other anecdotes that were more dramatic than this. My aunts, whose children I babysit, are 3 of my mother's sisters. I only refuse to stop helping one of them, my Aunt Florida, a made-up name. Florida is 33 years old and has a 5-year-old baby. She's actually very kind to me and understands my situation. She's single because the father of her child never wanted to take responsibility once she told him she was pregnant. So, Florida works in 2 restaurants, lives with my grandparents, and takes care of her son alone. Plus, her kiddo is very calm and intelligent. I don't have a problem with him. The problem is my other aunts, who are more stable. My Aunt Petunia's husband works in a government office, and my Aunt Margarita's husband is a lawyer, a pretty good one. They also work in an office. They can afford a nanny or pay me. I don't remember if I mentioned this before, but they're from the Dominican Republic. They came to the United States when Mom was my age. Mom is Aunt Florida's twin. I know their lives have been difficult and that families need to support each other, but I have a life too. I don't go out much, but I help Dad with his store. I also help out around the house. I study. And for those who asked, I do have a girlfriend, but we're both focused on our studies. Later, we'll formalize our careers, but not before we graduate. I will be updating everything via pass. Mom has already spoken with her sisters, my grandfather supports her, and since he is the absolute voice in the family, actually all the older adults are, he will speak with his daughters. Some comments. Commenter 1, NTA. It's crazy how your well-off aunts expect free childcare while Aunt Florida, who's actually struggling, respects your time. You're 15 with your own life, not their on-call babysitter, period. Commenter 2, too many use family as an excuse to manipulate, impose, abuse, silence and control. Nobody must be the guardian or servant of others to the detriment of themselves. Update 2. Hello again, it's been 10 days since I posted this, and, well, what had to happen happened. Welcome to the amazing family drama circus. First, thank you to everyone who commented. It helped me a lot to read about similar experiences and realize I wasn't being selfish. Sometimes you feel bad about saying no, especially with family, but I learned that setting boundaries isn't being a bad person. These events happened in 3 or 4 days. More things happened, but I'll only cover the most relevant. Day 1, my mom spoke with my aunts. She was firm but calm. She told them I wouldn't babysit anymore without them respectfully asking me, and that it wasn't my responsibility just because I was young and good with kids. Aunt Florida understood, but Maggie was more stubborn, left without saying anything and did not speak to Mom for the rest of the day. Day 2, my Aunt Margarita was offended. And when I say offended, I mean that she sent about 5 audios in the family group saying that the family is losing its values, that today's young people don't know how to help, and that they want everything easy and without commitment. She also said something like, when I was his age I already knew how to change diapers, which was weird because as I remember she waited until she was older to have children. Do you know what I mean? No one answered her much, but she left the group for about 2 days then came back without saying anything. Classic. At this point leaving without saying anything is already her personal trademark. Day 3, my grandfather intervened. My mom didn't ask him to, but he had already seen the group and decided to say something. Basically, he reminded everyone that helping is nice, but forcing is not. And that if they really valued support, they should learn to ask for it properly, or pay someone. That calmed the waters quite a bit. My Aunt Florida was a sunshine. She wrote me separately to tell me that she understood completely and that she never wanted me to feel used. That she really appreciates it when I help her, and that if someday I can't anymore, to say so without fear. She has never been the problem. My brother John also wrote me. Said, Aunt Margarita is crazy, you did good. I didn't expect it, because at first he had told me he could be smoother, but I guess he saw it more clearly now, or maybe it was because his girlfriend scolded him. What about me? I'm calm. I went to the last meeting, no one gave me kids to babysit, and I was even offered to sit with the adults. I ate in peace. I played with my little cousins for a while because I wanted to, not because they fit me in. And it felt good. Thanks again to everyone who read me, commented or laughed with me. I didn't think so many people would understand something so small, but I guess sometimes the smallest thing is the most tiring. Top comments. Commenter 1, what an uplifting update. It's great to be helpful to others. It is not great when others take advantage of your good nature. Glad you will have more time for yourself and studying, and have learned something about setting boundaries. Grandfather and Aunt Florida sound great. Commenter 2, here's my favorite part, they want everything easy and without commitment. Isn't that exactly what ol' auntie is doing? She wants you to make her life easier by babysitting her commitments, i.e. the kids she chose to have. That crap is about as good as calling someone selfish when they won't babysit or give money as expected. Good on you kid, and I would honestly advise that you not babysit again for at least a couple years. Stories number 14. My girlfriend and I have never have sex, and it's been almost 5 years. Am I the asshole? Yes, I mean never. Me, 27M, and my girlfriend, 26F, have been together for almost 5 years. When the relationship started, I assumed she was being flirty and building the temptation. We were having so much fun going on dates and I was just excited for the time to come, and it still hasn't come. I've tried to talk to her, I have brought this up hundreds of times. Every time I gently start the conversation she starts crying and says she feels guilty and she gets angry at me for, always, bringing it up. At the start she said she has vaginismus, she has seen a specialist about this once because I asked her to, and has the tools for exercises that they use to fix it. They have been sitting in her bedside drawer ever since. I am not blaming her for having vaginismus, and I'm sure that it is a horrible experience, but sitting here for 5 years waiting doesn't feel fair. The last time I brought it up, she said she has just never had the drive to have sex and it's not something she's ever wanted. But it's something that I want. I've asked her to go to the doctor to get her hormone levels checked, which she did. She went off her birth control about 3 months ago and absolutely nothing has changed. This makes it hard for me though, because it seems like she's starting to put in some kind of effort. She is beautiful and smart and she has a good job. We live together and her family love me. We do everything together, and I miss her when she's not around. I just don't know if I can live like this. I've already spent 5 years of my 20s in a sexless relationship. I have been hoping that she would just have some sort of awakening or breakthrough and become a sexual person. She has recently been bringing up engagements, feeling annoyed that her friends who have been together for less time than us are getting engaged and I haven't asked her. I can't see myself proposing and trapping myself in a life where I never have sex again. Am I the asshole for building resentment toward her, and expecting her to change after all this time? What do I do? Comments. Commenter 1. She should date an asexual. And you should date someone who's not asexual. Commenter 2. This is the answer. I dated an asexual woman for a couple months, sex twice, and it was like a chore for her, an inconvenience. It's a horrible feeling. Asexual people should date other asexual people. It only hurts others. Commenter 3. Just hopping in as an asexual, I am very sorry for your experience. Sexual incompatibility is real and I totally get how it sucks to feel like it's a chore to the other person. I just want to let everyone know that not every asexual person has no drive for sex. Asexual only means that we do not have sexual attraction, and even that can vary. Demisexuality means you need a very strong emotional bond, very strong, before feeling attraction. Imagine it like that: libido is your hunger, sexual attraction your appetite, and sex is eating. Your experience was that the asexual person forced themselves to eat, but other asexuals might have a very very slight appetite or just enjoy the act of eating without having a direct appetite, or they enjoy the feeling of being full, or enjoy seeing their partner, that cooked their dinner, happy when they eat their food. Smiley face. I just want to say that asexuality is a spectrum, and while a relationship with an asexual can be quite difficult, depending on how the sexuality manifests, isn't automatically impossible or unfair to both partners. Regarding the post, NTA, the GF might be asexual, but as she isn't letting OP in on the topic in a constructive way and you both probably being sexually incompatible, I'd break it up. You deserve to be talked to, and you have a need to be met. She shouldn't force herself, but it's fully reasonable for you to say this relationship is unsatisfying to you. Commenter 4. Yeah, this sounds dead in the water. You're too young for this. You are sexually incompatible and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's unfair to keep each other in a relationship if you aren't compatible. Update. It took a lot of courage and I finally made the decision for us to go our separate ways. It was a hard conversation for both of us to have, but it ended up being very amicable. We are still living together for a couple of weeks and I told her to just say the word if she needs some space, as I've got great support with friends I can stay with before I move states for a 5-week university placement. She's got her parents' house 2 minutes down the road and she even offered to stay there as she's empathetic to the fact that I don't have that option. She has no problem with me leaving personal non-essential items at the house until I have a new fixed address. She won't kick me to the curb basically. She has been very mature about how we move forward and we have had some of the best conversations we've ever had and reminisced about all of things that were great about each other and our relationship. Overall, we have no spiteful feelings for each other and can feel confident that we can be friends again in the future, after respecting having time and space from each other. Once again, I appreciate all your comments and messages. Comments. Commenter 1. Breakups are tough, but it's heartening to see such maturity and respect. Wishing you both the best in your next chapters. Commenter 2. Dear Lord. 5 years. You have some unholy level of patience. Congratulations on moving on with life, and on doing it without being a dick about it. Commenter 3. This was the best outcome. Breakups suck. Best wishes for the both of you. Stories number 15. Aita for finding someone else when wife opened our relationship. I, 29M, and my wife, 30F, have been together for 7 years and married for 4. Last year, she came up with the idea of open relationship to try out new things. I said it's not something comfortable for me and would like to stay monogamous. It felt weird because it came out of nowhere. We were doing good and planning to build a family together. After my reply, she insisted a lot. In the end, I decided to give it a try. Here are the boundaries she set. You should always prioritize the spouse instead of the other partner. Always use protection. Do not bring the partner to the shared house. Do not form overly emotional connections. I told her I am not sure if I can do some of these things. I am an emotional person, though I love the physical part too. She said it's okay, I will be able to do it, and it's hard for men to form emotional relationships in such cases anyways. She found a partner quickly and easily. My wife was my first relationship partner, so I was not confident in myself. I did not have great chances when I was in my 20s. Eventually, after clearing out most of my work, I decided to try finding a partner in my spare time. Surprisingly, I was flocked with interest from younger or around my age women. I knew maturing and aging did a great job for me, but not to this extent. I started talking to multiple people but decided to go ahead with only one of them. When I shared this information with my wife, she seemed surprised but congratulated me. She said she is shocked how beautiful this woman is and I was able to get her. It has been 10 months since finding a partner, but the more I got to know them and spent time with them, we formed an emotional connection together. This woman is aware of my situation and respects my boundaries. I realized I lost emotional and physical connection with my wife over time. I know one of the boundaries were about emotional connections and prioritizing the spouse, but I told her I was not sure if I could comply with some of these. I had a difficult talk with my wife last week about my situation. She immediately offered closing the relationship and going to couples counseling, but I am not interested, to be honest. She feels no different than a friend for me and I am afraid I built resentment for her due to the open relationship situation. I told her it would just extend the misery for me and I would like to have a divorce. She flipped and cried saying I am throwing everything away just for a fling. Aita here. Update, Aita for finding someone else when wife opened our relationship. It will be short update. I gave her the divorce papers my lawyer drafted this week and it did not go well. She refused separating amicably and said she'll make the process as painful as possible for me. She left the house after taking her important belongings and I have no idea where she is. My lawyer told me it would take about 8 to 9 months at best for that kind of case to be concluded. He also told me there would be no problem of seeing each other after as divorce process started but will take it easy. However, we decided to limit the physical contact with the other woman for now and she agreed it would be best for a smoother divorce process. House is my premarital assets and only shared marital assets we have are joint saving and investment accounts. I will be busy handling divorce and conflicts for the rest of the year. What a headache, especially when we could separate amicably by dividing the assets. That is all the update. A busy year awaits me but I am sure I will be fine. As for my relationship with the other woman, there is no guarantee it'll continue but you do not know if you do not try. Stories number 16. Aita for deciding to stay with my dad because I don't want to spend time with my stepbrother. My parents are divorced and they shared custody of me until 2 years ago. There was a fight over custody and the judge decided that I, 16M, could choose which house to stay in at any point if I wanted to, which meant neither of my parents won and the decision was put in my hands. Until now H had chosen to keep splitting the time between both houses but a few weeks ago I decided I wanted to live with my dad so I told my mom I wasn't coming back to her house. She wasn't happy about it, obviously, and she hates my reason for making this decision. The TLDR version is my mom's remarried and has 3 stepkids, my 2 stepsisters and my stepbrother. My stepbrother is neurodivergent and he's super exhausting to be around. Because I'm the only other boy in the house he fixated on me because of it. He's super misogynistic and says stuff that really hurts his sisters. I get so tired of him following me around and copying me and the things I do. There is no such thing as personal space with him. He's always in my room or in my face and there are times I've come back from dad's house and he slept in my room instead of his own. He's tried to make me eat like he does too and he destroyed a bunch of snacks that were mine, that I even bought because he didn't like them and he wants us to like the same stuff. My mom can't talk to him because he doesn't listen to her at all. 1 because she's not his mom and 2 because she's a woman. My stepbrother's dad coddles him to the extreme and always brings up how he has additional needs and challenges other kids have. We fight about his son a lot because he thinks I should love his kids and make sure I take extra care when being around his son. My breaking point was my stepbrother moving all his stuff into my room and deciding we'll share. He's 10 and already so in my face and even still with that age gap it's a no. And he's not even my brother. He's my stepbrother. And things are already weird enough. But his dad and my mom let him move his stuff and let him declare we'd share a room now. It was getting harder not to lash out at him, never physically, and I don't care about him in a way that I'd want to be the sibling who teaches him. I don't even consider him my actual sibling at all. If my mom's marriage was over tomorrow I'd have nothing more to do with him. So yeah, I decided to move in with dad. I told my mom exactly why and she hated my reason. She said it's so unkind and will make my stepsiblings feel so abandoned. She said my stepbrother won't fully understand and my stepsisters will lose the brother who isn't an asshole to them. I told her none of them were my problem and I won't make myself unhappy to help them. My mom asked how I could leave her so easily and I said because her house is my worst nightmare. And I said it was going to all go from bad to worse if I finally lost it with that kid. My mom's still trying to change my mind and she even tried to force my dad to invite my stepsiblings over so we could all hang out. I don't want that, not even the girls. I just want to be left alone and to not deal with the bullshit my mom dragged me into. Stories number 17. Sitter drank all my alcohol then abandoned my pets. I hired a sitter on Rover over a month ago for a trip this week, from last Saturday through Friday, today, to house sit at my house. We did a meet and greet, I liked her. She has 8 5-star reviews over the last year and a half, with the last several months of verified stays. Booked through Rover. We did exchange WhatsApp numbers because I am out of the country on this trip and do not have an international calling plan. She sent messages the first few days. Wednesday at 3 a.m. she sent a message that she had been sick with a stomach bug, but was feeling better. She asked a question about one dog's behavior, sitting in the bathroom barking, and I responded, she probably wants fresh water, she's asking to drink from the toilet. I didn't hear anything so I sent several messages checking in, on WhatsApp and Rover. No response. I checked my smart lock on my door and there was very minimal locking and unlocking, and always from the inside. I checked my camera outside that door. My dogs happened to be outside so I watched them. Then you hear a man I don't know, say, "Okay, one last shot." Then the man whistles for the dogs to come inside, and she wobbles into the doorway. They walk out and she falls over and he catches her. They leave together in, I assume, his vehicle. She was barefoot and obviously heavily intoxicated. That was 4 p.m. Thursday. I sent my friend over around midnight to check on the dogs and let them out. She found my bottles of liquor, now empty, all over the dining table. They were all either brand new or over half full, a handful of my Truly seltzers empty and in the trash, a container of kratom on the table and several more in the trash. A couple empty bottles of a THC drink, with more in the fridge, that are not mine, a weed vape pen on the table. Loose pills in the bottom of her purse, methylcarbamol 500 milligrams. That matches a prescription my dog has, but she had more than what my dog was prescribed, so either none or only some were stolen from my dog. My boxes where I keep medications were taken down from the cabinet in the bathroom and set on the counter and back of the toilet. I won't know if any are missing until I get home, but I have the things worth stealing with me. The toilet was clogged. The second toilet has a towel under it like it was leaking, which it has never done before. My dog's free feed, I keep food in their bowls at all times. Both bowls were empty. Their water, a 2-gallon bowl with fountain, was empty. My friend put 2.5 cups of food in both bowls and they immediately ate all of it. Then she put another 5 cups in both bowls and they kept eating. They never do this, so they hadn't been fed in a long time. Thank you for reading this far. I want to know, what is every single step I should take next? I have already made a report to Rover. I can't call their number until I am back in the country at my layover around 6:30 p.m. today. I sent them all the pictures from my friend and the video from my camera of her falling over. They are sending it to their trust and safety team and said I should get a response within 24 hours. They have offered no alternatives to pet care in the meantime. My friend spoke with the police and they said her stuff is abandoned property, so have her car towed and do whatever with her things inside my house. If she comes back, I can keep her stuff until I am home and make sure she only leaves with her things. I have deactivated her door code so it won't work and all doors are locked, but I will see if she attempts to come back and use her code. Her car is still in my driveway. My friend peeked inside and saw synthetic urine inside. I have not had any communication since the message Wednesday. How much liability is on Rover? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. This is insane. I'd imagine Rover will refund you and then ban the sitter. Reply. I do also feel like that much is guaranteed. I am not sure about the several $100s in alcohol she consumed. Is that a civil suit? Can I even get her info from Rover to be able to file that? And I have no idea the cost of the toilet repair. Commenter 2. Hey, so, she got really fucked up, and a man came and took her away. And she never returned for her CR or any of her stuff. Am I the only one actually concerned for this sitter's well-being? What if she's been kidnapped? Raped? She had good reviews and 1.5 years of them to boot. This is really abnormal behavior from what I can see. Reply. She definitely knew the man who showed up. He seemed concerned when he first got there and he stayed for a while before they left together. He was helping her to the car. It seemed like he came to help. OOP added in the comments. I was also wondering how someone with this level of addiction could have passed the background check. I have her last name because she has business cards in her purse, and a vague address from the Rover profile. Commenter 1. None of the substances that were being used are illegal, so as long as the sitter hasn't committed a crime adjunct to addiction, theft, DUI, etc., there is no reason why they would not pass a background check. Sounds like the sitter is smart enough to have a designated driver if they left their vehicle in OP's driveway. However, it sounds like their sticky finger will eventually land them a theft charge. Reply. Well, it's theft now. All the liquor bottles were mine, and the seltzers. Mini update in the comments. General updates after going through my whole house. There were methylcarbamol pills scattered everywhere throughout her things, as well as a few Sudafed, amoxicillin, another vape, and many of those little bottles of kratom. Inside her box of cosmetics. Inside her box of yarn and crochet supplies. Inside multiple pockets of her purse. I threw away all of it. She has a prescription bottle for sertraline. It was on the floor in a bag, and thank gods my dogs didn't get into it. My custom-built gaming table, the floor under it, and the chair that was on that end of the table are all incredibly sticky and nasty. Multiple towels were in the washing machine. The towel on the floor of the spare bath smells like shit. So did her clothes in the spare room. The main bath was clogged because the tank was empty, because the water was shut off. It appears to be flushing now. Hopefully that's functional. The toilet is stinky and nasty. The spare bath is stinky. The dogs were happy to see me. I brought them chicken nuggets. I turned my back and Ginny ate half my burger bun too, the counter-surfing goon. Both are currently napping, on either side of me. I will investigate the yard in the morning given that I found some empty Truly cans and a cigarette butt in the front porch. Her car is still out front. It's parked entirely off the street with all four wheels in the grass between my yard and my neighbor's yard. I am still going through all the camera footage. There is more. The man was there longer and she stumbled into the house at 9 a.m. Wednesday. I think they were gone all Tuesday night. I will update once I can finish reviewing all that. No new responses from Rover. Thank you everyone for the warmth and support and advice. I will continue to keep everyone updated via this thread. Update. The empty bottles. I finished reviewing all the camera footage. It took most of the Saturday and Sunday after arriving home. The sitter arrived at my home at 10:30 a.m. Saturday. I hadn't requested her to start until the afternoon, but she said she happened to be off work so would show up early. She started drinking the seltzers on the front porch at 11 a.m. that day. She notices the camera and tries to hide the cans in her dress as she drinks them outside Saturday and Sunday. She also smokes outside those days. I found an empty HHC sativa cigarette box, and saw her bring that into the house, plus found a lighter. I assumed that's what she was smoking. Her boyfriend starts showing up on Tuesday and shows up every day after that, usually twice a day. I've never met him and never agreed to allow him in my house. She appears drunk while leaving Tuesday at 6:30 p.m., and no one returns until she comes back Wednesday at 8:30 a.m., also stumbling. She sent me an update at 3:30 a.m., while not even at my house, to say she had a stomach bug and ask about my one dog barking in the bathroom. I responded saying she was asking for water. That was the last communication I had from her until Friday morning, when her BF tried to get into the house with her code. I sent several messages and requests for updates, via Rover and WhatsApp, but didn't hear back. The first time the door opens on Thursday is at 3:45 p.m. when her boyfriend shows up. It's possible she let the dogs out in the backyard, but until then they had been going out the side door, with the camera, quite often, so I suspect they weren't let out at all that day. Watching the full video, her BF has a moment of breaking down crying, facing the outdoor camera with his back to her, after finding her, so I don't think he was encouraging her to drink. His full comment, after listening very closely, is, "Take one last shot and then we'll go, and there's another, quieter, we gotta get out of here." I think he was just trying to convince her to leave. I do think it's possible she was actually in the hospital. I never saw anyone else show up to the house, so given how much she drank, she absolutely should have been in the hospital. In general, the videos were a lot of just the dogs being outside, barking to come in, wandering around, and Ginny begging for someone to throw her frisbee. It was so hard to watch them be ignored like that. I feel guilty for not keeping a closer eye on my camera. I normally watch the door locking and unlocking, and use that to check the camera, but she wasn't locking it, even overnight or when she left the house. I know I wouldn't have caught the early signs of drinking the seltzers unless I was watching every single video, but I am feeling the parent guilt over everything my babies went through. I have written out a full timeline of events, saved all relevant videos, saved screenshots of all conversations on WhatsApp and Rover, printed all emails with Rover, included a copy of my dog sitting instructions, and collected every photo from myself and my friends. I updated the itemized list to include the actual amount of time my friends spent here, screenshots of Uber costs, and things like that, plus court costs. I ordered all photos to be printed to bring to court. I'm not sure how to share the videos other than bring my tablet to court, but I took the most damning screenshot from every video and added that to the printed photos. I officially filed paperwork for a civil suit against her, and the sheriff has everything to serve her. After double-checking all the costs of everything, getting the total from the housekeeper, and adding in court-related costs, I am suing for $1,124. If all goes well, court will be mid-May. I searched public records in my area for her, and she has no record, for crimes or probation, that I could find. I am guessing the synthetic urine was to pass a drug screen for work. I was able to get a housekeeper to come Monday to help with the sticky mess and gross bathrooms. I've been doing laundry for days, in between all the documentation. Everything in my house feels gross and violated. The pups are acting relatively normal, maybe little more tired than usual. The independent hound dog is definitely clingier than usual, and actually listening when I tell her to come. The Carolina dog couldn't possibly get more clingy than she already was, and she's acting perfectly normal. I took them on a car ride with me to get food because I couldn't bear to leave them, and they got spoiled with some chicken nuggets. They are getting extra treats and love. The vet said that after 6 days without it, the Prozac is basically out of Ginny's system and it could take another 6 to 8 weeks to see full effects again. There is also a chance it will not work at all anymore after suddenly stopping it. So far it does seem she is calmer, so I'm hoping she is feeling better to be back on it and home safe with mama. Attached is the full-res original image from my friend for the haters. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I've been waiting for this update. I cannot imagine how someone could do this while responsible for someone else's babies in another person's home. I wish you all the best with your case and hope to get more updates. Has the sitter said anything else to you? Reply. Not sure if you read all the updates on the other post. So she apologized for making me uncomfortable and leaving my house a mess and said she hadn't drank in 9 years. Then threatened me for keeping her things. I said that her things were in her car and it had been towed, and if she wanted to settle things out of court, here is the itemized list. I listed out all the alcohol, cleaning fees, and extra sitters for 3 check-ins after she left. She said she'll have her lawyer call me and this is a cease and desist. I haven't heard anything from her since then. When discussing what costs to add to the civil suit. Commenter 2. Your time cleaning, vet costs and time should also be included. I hope they were. Commenter 3. And you said you hired a house cleaner. Include that too. Reply. I included the house cleaner with a receipt signed by both of us. I haven't included my time spent cleaning. I can bring that up in court and see what they say. Commenter 4. And the time your friend took to go over and check things out. Also consider a lawyer. Reply. Yes, I included Uber for friends and the time they spent there for the 3 check-ins until I could get home. Update. More pics of the empties. I showed up at the most recent court date. I tried to have the sheriff serve her, paperwork returned as multiple failed attempts. I sent certified mail to her home, returned undeliverable. I sent certified mail to her business and someone, not her, signed for it, and that was then returned to the court as well. The judge said that I have to continue to attempt, and they cannot hear the case until she is served. My only allowed options for serving her are via sheriff or certified mail. So, I need help. How do I find her and get her served? The sheriff and post office left notes that they attempted to reach her, so she knows I'm after her. I have the following information on her, because of everything she left in my house, which has since been returned: full name, address at the time of events, her frequently used username, from her Cash App credit card, her social security number, her card was in her things, current and former driver's license, her past workplaces, business cards, and her now expired car dealership seller license number. It's not searchable, unfortunately. I've found her Facebook page, minimal public info, Instagram, barely used, and Reddit account, frequently used, but nothing on this subreddit. Based on what I have, it looks like she moved to another city 2.5 hours away, but in the same state. I'm not sure if it's allowed to post the state, but that's super relevant because legal issues vary so wildly from state to state, so I'll put it in a comment in case that needs deleted. Relevant comments. The state. Reply. If allowed, the state is NC, why not hire someone to serve her? Hilarious. Individuals aren't allowed to serve in my state, unfortunately, or I would absolutely be down for such antics. Stories number 18. Aita for not giving legal advice at a party to someone I just met. Hi everyone, this actually happened last night. I was at my brother's place for an NFL draft party. I haven't seen my brother in a couple weeks, and my brother and I live a couple hours from each other because I moved away, so I haven't seen a lot of his friends in years. I also have not met most of my brother's girlfriend's family and friends because she comes from a town a couple hours from where they currently live in the opposite direction from where I live. My brother and his GF have been together 2 years and are getting engaged next month. At the party I was talking with a group of people and one guy, the husband of one of my brother's girlfriend's friends, asked me what I do for a living, and I said I'm an attorney. He then asked me what kind of law I practice, and I could already see where this was going. He then started into so I'm having a problem with one of my neighbors. As he was launching into his story, I reached in my pocket and gave him my card and told him to call me in the morning to discuss the issue. He got upset and said why can't I just answer a couple of quick questions for him since we were both there. I said I was there to see my brother and watch the draft and didn't want to discuss business right now. As other attorneys will tell you, at social gatherings this is a common thing. Once people find out you're an attorney, they'll try to corner you with a bunch of questions and you're basically back on the clock. Years ago, I decided to do the business card thing instead of answering questions so I could actually enjoy social gatherings. Besides, these things almost never turn into actual business, people just want free legal advice. I've never had any complaints about it before. The guy got upset, said something under his breath, and stormed off. The other people standing there all made a face as he stormed off and we went right back into our conversation. That was it, or so I thought. The rest of the night was fine, and it was never brought up again. We enjoyed the draft, and I enjoyed seeing my brother's knucklehead friends these years later. I got a text from my brother this morning, and he said, I want to make this clear, I completely understand why you did what you did. He has seen it happen a bunch of times at events and heard me complain about it afterwards. However, his girlfriend is upset that I blew her friend's husband off, and wants me to reach out to him, apologize and answer his questions. My brother said he's on my side and said he told her such, but she made him send the text to me anyway. I believe my brother being on my side and understand he's trying to keep the peace in his relationship. I said I'm not texting and apologizing or calling the guy, but he has my card and is welcome to call me. I feel I did nothing wrong. Just because of my job doesn't mean I'm on the clock 24/7. My brother said, yeah, I knew you'd say that, but now I can at least tell my GF I tried and that was it with him. Again, I thought this was the end, but it's not. His girlfriend texted my mom and told her what happened. Now my mom is texting me and saying I know it's annoying what this guy did, but can you call this guy so that your relationship with brother's girlfriend isn't negatively affected because she's obviously upset with you. My brother is getting engaged to her next month and she's going to be family and there's no need to have a rift when she's about to be family. I said it's too late. The fact that she cried to my mom already created a rift on my end about her now. Again, I declined, and my mom said she understands, but just doesn't want negative feelings with brother's GF over this. I said no, he can call me and I'll answer any questions he has. So, Reddit, Aita for how I handled this. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. People, even family and friends, must understand that there are set boundaries. Your time, expertise, and education have value. Just because someone knows you personally doesn't mean they're entitled to free legal advice services. Respecting your work means they're respecting your process. Also, girlfriend sounds like a red flag, considering she even texted your mom. Reply, yeah, I was minorly annoyed she had my brother reach out to me, but once you got my mom involved, now I'm actually annoyed. Commenter 2, the fact that your brother's girlfriend feels like she has any agency in this situation is strange. Don't apologize for shit. They're mad now, later they won't be. NTA. Reply, TBH I could care less if this guy who lives 4 to 5 hours away that I may never see again except once at their wedding and then never again is mad. I only care about my brother's GF and only to the extent that she's probably giving my brother an earful over it, and that sucks for him and her being a future part of the family. Having a rift over something so stupid is unfortunate. Commenter 3, totally get you. By, they're mad, I absolutely meant your sale too. IMO, the more energy you give this, the more it feeds her. Set the boundary, then don't engage on it. This is a strategy that is employed when dealing with narcissistic people. Reply, yeah, ever since my mom stopped asking about it I stopped talking to any of them about it. This is also very out of character for my brother's GF. Not sure why this was a triggering point for her. Update, my brother got engaged to the GF referenced in the post a couple of weeks ago. They had a get-together to celebrate their engagement this past weekend. They only invited immediate family and those they expect to be in their wedding party. My brother had asked me about being his best man last week before the party, but at the dinner they formally gave gifts to everyone in their wedding party along with officially asking everyone to be in the wedding party. Said brother's fiance's friend's husband was there as well. He is not going to be in the wedding party, but his wife apparently will be. I was there before he was, and when he came in he made no attempt to come over and say hello to me or the group I was talking with. Fine, I hardly know the guy, so I don't care if he talks to me. At dinner there were no assigned seats, but my girlfriend and I happened to be seated not super close to him and his wife, but close enough to where we could hear each other's conversations if we weren't involved in our own conversations. At dinner I was sitting with my girlfriend next to me on the same side they were seated. On my other side was my sister and her husband, and across from me was some other friends of my brother's fiancé I had never met before this night. My girlfriend was not at the previous event, but I of course had told her about the issue. Anyway, my girlfriend and I are making small talk with the friends of my brother's fiancé across from us, and of course what we all do for a living came up. I said I was an attorney, and the guy at that point decided to interject into our conversation and say, but don't ask him any questions right now, he'll just give you his card and tell you to call him during business hours. To my delight and his horror, one of the friends we were talking to responded and said, yeah of course, I'd hardly expect him to give me legal advice at his brother's engagement party. He made an angry face, mumbled something to his wife, who told him to drop it, and then I don't think he said a word again the rest of the night. Nothing big, just thought some might find this update amusing. Final comments. Commenter 1. As a fellow attorney, I applaud you. That guy is so self-absorbed and entitled. I fucking hate people who expect free off-the-cuff advice and have no understanding of the fact that actually lawyers need to do legal research in order to give good advice. Not to mention that we need to do conflict checks. How did your future SL treat you? I hope she got over her snit. Not cool that she called your mom to tattle on you. It sounds like your bro is marrying a jerk. Reply, thank you. It is great to hear a fellow attorney thinks I handled this well. She got over it, pretty quickly. Didn't apologize but didn't change the way she acted with me either. Her and I aren't close, and I don't think we ever will be, but we've remained cordial. Commenter 2. As a fellow human being who doesn't want to talk about work, background is IT and new career HVAC, I also applaud you. Bruh, you want IT consult, pay me. You want me to troubleshoot your furnace AC, same thing. You don't know how to set up a shared drive, my 16 years old cousin can do something so basic, go ask him. Your AC doesn't work, bruh, I promise you nobody can diagnose your issue with the only symptom you can articulate is thermostat calls for cool, but house don't cool. Stories number 19. I believe my 14-year-old daughter is being groomed online. I'm heartbroken and unsure how to handle it. Please help. I hope it's okay for me to ask something this serious and personal here. I'm a mom to a daughter who just turned 14. I've been trying to keep her off social media as much as possible to protect her from online risks, especially inappropriate contact from strangers. Despite this, she found ways to access platforms like Discord and Snapchat using alternate accounts. I usually respect her privacy and don't check her devices, but I recently had a strong gut feeling and decided to look through her messages. What I found deeply alarmed me. She's been communicating with someone she apparently met online. This person seems to be several hours away and talks to her frequently, often late at night. Their conversations are emotionally intense and suggestive. He sends her stylized, mature-themed images and repeatedly asks for photos, personal details, and if she would be willing to travel to meet him. He even suggests ways to get around my rules. Some messages included language that makes me very concerned about emotional pressure and manipulation. From what I can tell, he's trying to push boundaries and test her trust. I broke down when I saw it. I feel helpless, terrified, and unsure how to move forward. I'm considering reporting him to the authorities. But I'm also trying to figure out how to talk to my daughter without completely destroying her trust or making her feel ashamed. Have any of you dealt with something like this? How do I approach her with love and protection, but also with the seriousness this situation demands? Edit 1. Thank you to everyone who responded. I've been able to gather a lot of information from your replies, many tools that I can give my daughter to help her identify perpetrators earlier. I've spoken to her several times for a long time now. She was a bit disappointed in me for reading her messages, but she understood that it is my job to protect her. She was more disappointed in him. We blocked and deleted the perpetrator. I hope she won't allow any more contact. As far as I could tell from our conversations, she now realizes what happened to her and doesn't want to experience it again. We've talked about responsible use of social media. She'll have access, but I can monitor it. I'll continue to give her the privacy she needs at her age, but I'll intervene if necessary. Some of you thought I wanted to be my daughter's best friend, but that's not the case. I'm fully aware that that's not my role. I'm also very strict and have clear rules. Nevertheless, I don't want to lose my daughter's trust in me, so in this case I proceeded as cautiously yet clearly as possible. I'm in contact with a close friend who's a police officer and also responsible for cybersecurity. I'm discussing all further steps regarding reporting, etc. with him. Thanks to everyone. Stories number 20. Finding out the truth about my wife. We spent 2 years together in college and got married the fall after we graduated. Spent 2 years exploring our relationship and finally got settled down and was ready to raise a family. She got off birth control and her libido took off, but it took 3 years for us to get pregnant, but we got a beautiful girl finally. After a couple of months, my wife got back on birth control and had a hard time with it. Her doctor switched her meds several times, but she had bad side effects with each one. We talked about it and were unsure if we wanted another child, and since it was easier for me to get a vasectomy reversed later if we decided to have more children, I had the operation. That was 3 years ago, and after coming off birth control my wife has felt better and sex has been worry-free since we can no longer get pregnant. We actually have sex more now than when we were in college. Then 3 weeks ago my wife was late for her period, which isn't that unusual for her. Then I noticed her breasts were a little tender and she started what seemed like signs of morning sickness. Now I know there have been cases of nature-reversing vasectomies, so I went to the doctor and had my sperm count checked and the verdict was I'm still sterile, but I didn't tell my wife. My wife finally went to her doctor and confirmed she was pregnant, and so she had me go to my doctor to get tested. I didn't go right away because I was literally sick from the stress of the situation. I had all sorts of sick scenarios going through my head. In the end I got retested and I took my daughter in and had a DNA test done. I got both test results back today and got violently ill after reading them. Yes, I'm sterile, and no, my daughter isn't mine. When my wife got home I showed her my test and she denied any wrongdoing in saying that there was a problem with the test, and I showed her the test from last week and she broke down crying. I finally got it out of her who she had slept with and that it only happened once and the condom must have failed. I made her tell me the story 3 times, and each time I asked her if that was the whole truth and if there was anything else that she needed to tell me because another lie would mean we were through. She said that was the only time and she had never done anything like that before. I told her how much this hurt me and asked her how she could do this to our family and if it was worth it. I asked her if she wanted a divorce and she pleaded with me to forgive her and put this behind us. I said I couldn't raise someone else's child and asked her if she would be willing to terminate the pregnancy in order to stay together. She cried the rest of the night, but when we went to bed she said she would do whatever it took to save our marriage. I never brought up the DNA test. I will contact a lawyer next week to see what my options are about if I have to pay child support on our first child. If she had come clean about the father of our first child I could have swallowed my pride and tried to work to forgive her, but she thought she was in the clear and didn't need to confess to anything else. No telling what I'll never know. Lawyer update. My lawyer is awesome. She had me bring in a bunch of paperwork, bank statements, and my medical and DNA results and had me tell her my story. Her assistant sat in with us and took notes while my lawyer went through my documents. After I finished she asked a few questions and spelled out my options. I live in an at-fault state, which is good and bad. Good as in it gives us leverage, bad as it takes longer and much more expensive. In the case of the first child, if my wife agrees to sign the papers my liability for child support is an easy fix. If she doesn't agree then a court-ordered DNA test and a judgment from the court can remove me without my wife's consent. Either way, I will most likely not have to pay child support. One way is just more expensive than the other. Since my wife has a good job and earns close to what I do, she didn't think the judge would award her any alimony. And all of that plus dividing up property and other things can be negotiated before a judge gets involved. The bad news was due to the holidays. They couldn't have the papers ready before Christmas but definitely would before the end of the year. She advised me to say nothing until she got served. She gave me a list of things to do before and after Christmas before they served my wife. One thing they did point out was since we were actively trying to have a baby there was a possibility that my wife didn't know that the child wasn't mine. My wife has an appointment with her OB tomorrow. Update. Finding out the truth about my wife. Getting served. TLDR. After having a vasectomy after our first child, my wife got pregnant 4 years later. I go to get tested to make sure I'm still sterile, I am, and not the father, and then decide to test our daughter, not mine. I had to wait till after Christmas to have her served. So I met my sister at my house and we started moving my stuff to her house while the divorce goes through, or at least until my STBXW leaves and I get possession of the house. We took 4 carloads to her house and came back for the rest. My sister felt it important for her to be there for support and as a witness. I also moved the nanny cam into the living room so it could record everything in the cloud. At about 10:45 a.m. I got a text from the lawyer saying she had been served. I sent her an email saying that I am at the house when she is ready to talk. A couple of minutes later I got a text from my wife saying, "Why? Blah blah blah." So I resent the first text and waited for her to get home. She sent several texts and voicemails. They don't mention anything about cheating, just how she thought we were working this out and she thought we would sit down and have a conversation before proceeding with a divorce. Playing the family card and how this will devastate the child and our families. How she feels betrayed. That was a good one. She was still sharing her location, and it took her 20 minutes before she left work. She then stopped at a nearby Walgreens for a few minutes. The purpose of the stop at Walgreens became clear as a police car pulled in behind her in the driveway. According to the officers, she got the police there because she said she was afraid and that we had guns in the house. I showed the officers my empty gun safe and said that I had removed them to another secure location. We went back to the living room and I showed my wife the paternity test that I had done that showed her daughter was not mine. Her response was denial and disbelief, which appeared genuine. She broke down and cried for about 10 minutes. I told her this was the final straw and why I wanted the divorce. At about that time, the police officers reminded me to keep it civil and made their exit after I told them I was leaving soon to stay at my sister's house. When I asked who the child's father was, she claimed she didn't know. I asked if there were that many guys she was sleeping with or did she just not know his name. I asked how many times had she cheated on me between pregnancies. To which she said it was just the 2 of them. I told her that I had said earlier if she didn't tell the whole truth that I was done. I reminded her I also told her that I wouldn't raise someone else's child. And that she had better figure out who the real father was because I wasn't paying child support for someone else's baby. She wanted to know what we were going to tell our daughter and I said that was up to her because this was her mess and I wasn't taking the blame or cleaning it up for her. I drafted a couple of emails last week, one for our friends and family with copies of all the test results and reasons why I was asking for a divorce, the other for my wife with copies of the same tests along with what I knew and things that I had told her previously. I had to run it through my lawyer and make a couple of edits before she signed off on it. I sent copies to all our friends and relatives when she pulled into the driveway this afternoon. Most of the feedback has been one-sided and very colorful. In the end, I told her if she had been truthful we might have been able to work things out, but I couldn't trust a lying serial cheater, and I told her if she had gotten her tubes tied instead of me getting a vasectomy she might have got away with it. That I told her she needed to get a lawyer so we could move forward and start to heal. Update: we had our second meeting with the lawyers today and we signed off on almost everything except the house, still waiting for an appraisal to come back and figure out the split. Motions got filed today and a court-ordered paternity test was scheduled for all three of us. Since STBXW didn't fight me on everything, we filed a no-fault divorce petition. If everything goes right I get the house back on February 15th and the divorce will be final on April 5th. The lawyers did a better job keeping us separated and the conversation between the two of us to a minimum. I was a little worried when she came in, pale and with no energy to speak of. I couldn't tell if it was lack of sleep or maybe over-medicated. She just stared out the windows as the lawyers read everything to us before we signed some of the papers. Walking out felt like I had shed a giant weight from around my neck. HR got me signed up for therapy tomorrow. My boss had put a bottle of champagne on my desk, offered me some time off if I needed it, but I told him I was excited to get back to work, tormenting my ex-wife's AP. So throughout and after my divorce I have kept in contact with Sharon, OBS, as we had shared details about our ex's affair and both of us were interested in the consequences our spouses ended up suffering and we provided each other moral support. We talk on the phone and usually have dinner once or twice a month to catch up. Last month, Sharon said that one of her friends was getting married and had invited her to the wedding. Her ex, Stan, was also invited as he was a friend of the groom. Her invitation had a +1 and she pitched the idea of me going with her. Both as moral support and as a dig at her ex Stan. It was a weekend event and we would share a room with double beds, strictly platonic. The idea amused me so I agreed. We flew in the day before the wedding and had dinner with several of Sharon's friends. I was introduced as her friend, no mention of our history and the divorce. We didn't run into Stan until right before the ceremony as they escorted us to the bride's side, while Stan was seated on the groom's side. Needless to say he was less than pleased and kept looking over at us, something Sharon was well aware of. At the reception we were seated with some of Sharon's friends from the night before and we picked up where we left off and everyone was quite engaged. Stan was seated at a table across the room from us but in clear view. We danced quite a bit together and probably drank more than we should. There was a brief confrontation with Stan and Sharon but her friends diffused it quickly and spirited Sharon away. At the hotel after the reception we had drinks with two other couples. Several comments about Stan shooting daggers at us all night and a few about how cute a couple we made and questions about if we were serious or not. We laughed it off and said we were just friends. I had to support Sharon on the way to the room and had my arm around her. On the cramped elevator ride we were standing quite close. When we got to the room there was a tense moment and we kissed. Good judgment lost out to the alcohol and we ended up sleeping together. Next morning we never spoke much about the elephant in the room as we rushed to catch our flight home. We did run into Stan as we were checking out and he made a snide remark and walked off. Once we were on the plane we talked about what happened, that neither of us were sorry but questioned the wisdom of the timing. We both agreed we each needed some time to process what happened and agreed to have dinner next week and talk about it then. I know neither of us has tried to date since our divorce. I haven't been in the right headspace to even flirt, much less date. I have a session already scheduled with my therapist where I will bring this up. But we did have a great weekend at the wedding. Clarification: the third update seems to jump around too much and lacks important information. I checked the OOP's profile, but there don't appear to be any missing or deleted posts. Many users have also commented on the original post about experiencing the same issue with the OOP. Common doubts: Sharon, AP's wife; Stan, AP; OBS, other betrayed spouse. Stories number 21. Aita for letting daycare call CPS when my specs husband failed to pick up our toddler from daycare. We're in a trial separation. He wants half custody. It's been several months and it was the 8th time daycare has called me because he was unable to pick up our toddler. Sometimes he was just a no-show, and the daycare would call me because it's already been half an hour since their official close time. Every time, the daycare is pissed at me for making them stay over time and we're charged $2 per minute for being late. They threaten to call authorities and CPS if we keep doing this. I tried to explain the problem, but daycare doesn't care, as they shouldn't. Well, last week, it happened again and I told daycare to go ahead and call the authorities and CPS. My soon-to-be ex-husband showed up an hour late and met our toddler there with the cops. Daycare also threatened to kick our toddler out. Again, understandably so. My STB ex-husband was so mad and said I was a cruel mother for abandoning our toddler. I told him I warned him multiple times in the past, and issues only arise when he has custody. We switch with each week, trialing house swap too. I told him repeatedly if he cannot get out of work reliably, he needs to hire a babysitter nanny and he cannot rely on me as his primary backup. I'd get it if it was like once or twice a year, or if babysitter nanny plans fell through, but if I'm his ex-wife and he has custody, he shouldn't depend on me as his primary backup. And I also felt bad about leaving our toddler, but if we separated, this would only keep happening and I felt short-term pain might be worth the long-term gain. I feel bad our toddler is caught in the middle, but was I the AH for letting daycare call CPS? Relevant details: we're both high-paying jobs, but I do not schedule myself to work late on days I have him or I have a nanny babysitter ready. Now with the trial separation, I have cut down to half-time. I work half days on the days I have our toddler so I can spend time with him, and work long days on days I'm child-free. He has made no changes in his schedule. Stories number 22. My daughter, 6, asked me if I loved her more than my phone and I've never felt so ashamed. I, 27F, was scrolling TikTok the other night while my daughter was coloring beside me. I wasn't really watching, just zoning out after a long shift. She suddenly said, "Mommy, do you love your phone more than me?" I laughed at first, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. She said, "Because when I talk, you don't look at me. But you always look at your phone." That shattered me. She wasn't mad. She wasn't whining. Just stating a fact. I asked her to repeat herself and she shrugged and said, "It's okay. I know you're tired. I just miss you sometimes." I couldn't even say anything. I put my phone away and we played a game, but I still cried in the bathroom after she went to sleep. I don't know who I'm turning into, but I don't like her. I don't want to be the kind of mom who's present but never really there. Stories number 23. Wrongly accused husband of infidelity. Turns out he was hiding his erectile dysfunction instead. Pretty much what the title says. We've been together for 12 years and married for 8. I noticed that my husband's sex drive has been non-existent for the past few months, which was very bothersome considering we went from sex multiple times a week to no sex at all within a week. He also put a password on his phone and began guarding both his phone and his computer a lot more. He would be type and click furiously while the screen was pointed away from me, but the second I'd walk up next to him, he'd switch to Netflix or something like that. I also noticed that he became much less physically affectionate with me. To me, everything pointed to infidelity. I've never been cheated on before, to my knowledge, so I could have been over-paranoid, but I don't think it was illogical to assume that something shady was going on behind my back. So this morning I saw him crouched over his laptop on the sofa doing more of his furious typing and clicking, so I reached over and grabbed his laptop to see what he was doing. He panicked and knocked the laptop out of my hands onto the floor. I was just shocked and disgusted. At that point, I was so sure he was having an affair. I told him that I could not believe he would betray my trust like that, and I told him to get out of our house. We got into a huge argument that primarily consisted of me cutting off his explanation attempts with nasty insults. Once he calmed me down and explained everything. He showed me his 5-page Google Doc with all of his links detailing methods to deal with erectile dysfunction, and he showed me all of the text messages he sent to his brother about this. He's very upset that I think he's capable of cheating, and he did end up leaving the house to stay with a friend because he wanted time alone to clear his head. I made an awfully big mess for myself and I don't know how to repair things. TLDR, husband was being secretive about erectile dysfunction, but I accused him of infidelity. Update, wrongly accused husband of infidelity. Turns out he was hiding his erectile dysfunction instead. FML, 36M33F 12 years. I am deeply grateful for the people that assisted me in researching my husband's condition. Thank you. This update certainly isn't comprehensive and things are far from resolved, but I figured I owed this to the few people that did legitimately contribute. My husband came back at around 9 p.m., he left at 10 a.m., on Monday. Once I found out that ED was linked to heart issues, I started freaking out because his family has a history with cardiovascular disease. I think that was the reason he came back home. As I researched more about ED, I furiously texted him like 100 times and left him dozens of voicemails begging him to at least go to a medical professional to get himself checked, even if he still didn't want to talk to me. But instead he came home and told me he had been meeting with his doctor, who said there was no indication that his ED was linked to heart disease. I hugged him, cried a little bit, and apologized profusely for everything. I had been extremely worried about his family's past with cardiovascular problems, so hearing that a trained medical profession did not find any issues yet gave me a lot of strength. He comforted me and offered me a chance to explain everything from my perspective. So I did. I started by telling him that I knew I was to blame for our situation and that I would never be able to justify my breakdown, but I really wanted him to know the reasoning behind my thought process. I told him how awful these past few months have been for me. I told him how hurt I was when I spent hours making his favorite dinner, lighting up candles, and dolling myself in new lingerie, just to have him come home and head straight to the couch without even acknowledging me. I told him how unloved and hurt I felt once I realized he was reusing excuses to not have sex with me. I told him I was vulnerable and I let my insecurities get the better of me. I even told him about this subreddit and about all of the horror stories I've read on here. I also told him that more than anything, I love him and I will do whatever it takes to repair our marriage. I offered him my unconditional support with his ED and agreed to go to any therapy or counseling that he deems necessary. He squeezed my hand and apologized to me. He explained that he did not want me to lose respect for him as a man, and I let him know that I didn't respect him any less because of his ED. We both agreed that we hurt the other, but we also agreed that we love each other very much and we want this marriage to work. So we're working on it and his ED together. The specifics of that don't really matter, but no, we did not break up over this. Stories number 24. Husband, M33, lost weight and doesn't find me, F33, attractive anymore. Me, F33, and my partner, M33, have been together for 13 years. I always thought we had one of those relationship goals things. Still have butterflies after all this time. When we started dating, my partner was overweight, but last year he worked really hard and lost a lot weight. I'm very proud of him, and he is happier with himself. Unfortunately, I gained a lot of weight over the last 3 years due to depression and medication. This has made me insecure when meeting people, but I've always felt safe at home. Well, until he told me he didn't find me attractive anymore. I was having a hard time wearing a swimsuit because I felt so unattractive and came to him for comfort, and he just agreed with me. I was shocked and angry at first, but now I'm just sad. I don't feel comfortable at home anymore. I cover up instead of wearing comfy clothes. I started eating less, not drinking alcohol, etc., but it doesn't do anything. I haven't lost weight. He apologized for making me sad, but it hasn't really changed anything. I still love him so much, but if I can't lose the weight, I'm scared we'll never get back to how we were. I guess the depression is also a factor, both for how I feel and how he feels, but that is also not something I can easily fix. Is there anything I can do to bring that spark back for him? Without taking my clothes off. Stories number 25. Aita for not cooking fancier meals. I'm the only one who cooks in our house. It's just 4 of us, my husband, me and my daughter and little brother. My husband is 27 and I'm 25. My husband barely knows how to make eggs, even though I've tried to talk to him constantly about learning how to cook. My daughter and brother are still in elementary school, so they only help me cook. The responsibility falls on me and it's honestly exhausting. So, I just set up a system in my head. It's easy. For breakfast it's just something with eggs or cereal. Lunch is some sort of sandwich, burger, or leftovers. Dinner is the meal I usually plan, but I have like 10 dishes I repeat. Sometimes I'll go off, especially Sunday, but generally I stay because it's easier for me mentally. Well, one day I made just pasta Alfredo with chicken, and as we were eating, my husband mentions that it would be nice if I made fancier dishes. I asked him what he meant and he explained he wants me to change things up, add some more meat dishes and variety. Next time, we went out shopping and I was putting ingredients I don't usually buy into the cart. As the ingredients started piling up, my husband was getting all puffy and upset. We got to the meat aisle and I started picking out beef, and that's when my husband lost it and started taking things out of the cart, saying that we can't afford my fancy living. I blinked at him and tried to explain that he was the one who asked for variety and different dishes, so I'm buying different ingredients. He rolled his eyes and told me that I'm being dramatic. I just let him do his thing, taking out most of the ingredients out. The next week, I made the same dishes because that's all I had ingredients for. A week passed and my husband was all pouting that I made fried rice again and that he's sick of chicken. When I pointed out that he took out all the beef out of our cart, he blew up on me again and said I'm being an asshole because he doesn't know how to cook. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, NTA, I'm sorry, but does your husband have a learning disability? I am seriously asking because it sounds like he is not comprehending what he did. If he did understand, then he's a complete ass. I wouldn't put up with that crap. Reply, I mean, he's a big boy engineer and is really smart. I don't think he has a learning disability. Commenter 2, I would stop cooking for His Grace, the Duke of Minimum Effort, for a while. Possibly forever. Just feed yourself and your kids. Your foods aren't good enough for Sir Requireth All, so why bother? Reginald expecting ton 3 can learn to cook for himself, unless he is mentally impaired somehow. Tell him that you are very excited to taste his beef Wellingtons and nicely seared halibuts. I absolutely despise people who are about as useful as a handful of dirt, yet act all entitled and shit on people who take care of them. NTA, the absolute gall. Reply, oh my god, this made me laugh so hard. I'm showing this post to my husband, by the way, so I think I'm going to call him these names when he's being unreasonable, hahaha. Edit, y'all, this thread is hilarious, literally crying laughing. Edit 2, Husband has been shared this post as of 16 hours later lol 1.4k comments. Commenter 3, he's a whiny bitch. You're nice to cook for him, and if he wants to learn how to do it to help because he doesn't like what you make, he should. It's a life skill everyone should have. Reply, he's a mama's boy and I realized I just kinda allowed this behavior to continue. He's the oldest of 8 boys and his mom is a boy-mom type. So I had to teach him how to take care of himself after we got married and now the last challenge is cooking. Commenter 4, I have a question though, are you working? Like a job outside the house? BC if you and your husband are both working, the cooking shouldn't solely be your responsibility. Next time your husband says he wants fancier dishes, just deadpan say, go for it, you can make whatever you want tomorrow, with a smile. Be totally serious, throw the comment away like you're seriously letting him cook whatever he wants, since he wants it so bad. Reply, yes, I work part-time from home. I don't mind cooking honestly and he does everything else. He does laundry mostly, we both clean the house equally. He grew up with a boy mom, and it's been taking me the past 4 years of our relationship to kinda unravel that. We're minimal contact because she berates me for not making him a big lunch and doing his laundry. More on the MIL and husband's relationship. I agree. Their relationship is so strange. He's going through therapy right now and we're on minimal contact with her. She constantly harasses me like I'm competition. His father is a deadbeat and his therapist explained that his mother might be subconsciously using my husband as a stand-in. I wouldn't recommend this situation to anyone, but I really do love my husband so I'm happy to work through this. Mini update in comments. OOP responds to how the talk with her husband went. So it took a bit of talking to him before he confessed that he heard his best friend talk about how they have steak a few times a week. My husband is upset because he would like to eat like that but knows we can't afford it right now. He also said that he's stressed from some house issues that happened recently. We bought a house last year and the furnace had to be replaced a few months ago for example. He's been handling all these problems and I honestly didn't even realize he's been so stressed. Not that it justifies his actions of course, and I told him so. Update post. I'm still in shock at the way that post blew up. I honestly was just to prove a point to my husband, and that post definitely did that and more. So when I showed him the post, he was shocked. Angry for a minute but then read a few comments, then turned off his phone and acted like it didn't bother him. He didn't talk to me for the rest of the evening and at night, I woke up to see him reading the comments again but just went back to sleep. I didn't mention it and the next morning, he was still not really talking much. That evening for dinner when we sat at the table, he finally brought up the post. He asked me if I agreed with what the comments said. I just shrugged and said that yes, I agreed with some. He was quiet after that and while we were cleaning up, he apologized for his behavior. Then a few days later, he asked if we could start making dinner together every night. It was a bumpy road at first but honestly after a week, we started enjoying it and now a few weeks later he's gotten much better and even made a few meals himself. The reason behind his behavior, he admitted, was because his mother has been trying to contact him lately. It's been stressing him out and one time when she called him, she started talking trash about me, what else is new, and kept mentioning that I'm not feeding him well enough, that he was much happier when he was eating her food. Honestly I don't even know what she was trying to do. My husband apologized for it and said that he likes my cooking but let her words get to him. He is talking to his therapist about all this. That's really it. A lot of people asked for the update or for his reaction lol but there wasn't much. He handled it a lot better than I hoped. He even started joking about some of the comments a few weeks ago and it's become somewhat of an inside joke. Thank you Reddit for helping us through this haha. Life is good, hope you all have a good dinner tonight. Sum of comments. To a longer comment. I should have specified that we were already very low contact because of how toxic she is. He had her blocked but she got another number and contacted him again. He did admit he should have blocked her right away but he's figuring that out with his therapist. Commenter, side suggestion but to all my ladies who have to deal with boy moms, let them. Let the mothers cook for their sons, on their time, and on their dime. Let them break their backs doing the laundry, etc. Just let them. Once I understood that I could change my outlook on boy moms and see the domestic dynamic as a win, baby it is a win. Let the moms keep their housekeeper duties while the wives and GFS get their queen duties. Reply, it's not that easy because she disapproves of anything I do. She hates how I'm raising our child. She claims that she's my child's favorite person which is far from the truth. When she was in our life, she was always making sure I take care of her baby. She hated my healthy dishes and always brought over lots of bread and dried dishes full of carbs because I'm trying to starve my husband. It's literally just that I make balanced meals. She would toss out the food I made if I wasn't there. And I could go on and on about how she treated me in public. It's exhausting, it put a strain on our marriage, my husband was lost and didn't know what to do. Life is much more peaceful when she's out of it. Stories number 26. Aita for uninviting my maid of honor's husband to my wedding because he brought a gun to my kid's birthday party the night before. My husband and I got married on Saturday. On Friday night, we planned a birthday party for my son and I told my friend, MOH, to make sure her husband does not bring any guns, large knives to my house. A little backstory on that. Her husband is not the brightest crayon in the box and is extremely irresponsible when it comes to firearms, knives and explosives, especially when there is alcohol involved. So Friday, her husband shows up to the house. She was already at the house because prior to that, we were setting up a wedding venue. She told him several times not to bring a firearm or large knife to the party. We live in a very chill area, so there's no need to bring a firearm to a kid's birthday party.